Chapter 97. Big Brother. Yanyan's surprised and excited voice came from inside. Then, with a burst of fragrant wind, Yanyan's delicate body rushed out and threw herself into Yang Dingtian's arms. "Baby, what exactly happened?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Tell me bit by bit." At this moment, Yang Dingtian was sitting on the ground with Yanyan nestled in his arms. After hearing his question, Yanyan immediately said in a low voice, "After you left yesterday, Tang Xin came over and scolded me. She scolded me very harshly and I couldn't win against her. However, seeing that her brother, Tang Li, died, I didn't argue with her. But then, she started to slander you, saying that you didn't rely on talent to break through more than 10 levels in 5 days. Instead, you relied on the evil devouring Xian technique to break through." "Idiot, let her say whatever she wants," Yang Dingtian said. "And then, but, she said that not only did you take my Xian Qi, you also took Sister Ningning's Xian Qi, and you also took Mother's." Yanyan said in a trembling voice, her voice still filled with anger. Yang Dingtian was instantly enraged. "That lowly servant, she deserves to die." It was fine that she slandered Yang Dingtian, but she actually slandered Madame Shimen. She was Yang Dingtian's elder and Shimen Wuya's wife. Just like his master's wife, they were both people that Yang Dingtian treated as his mother in this world, even though they were both very young. Furthermore, Tang Xian's rumor was too vicious. Madame Shimen's life was pure and innocent. Ruining her reputation was no different from killing her. He was trying to drive Yang Dingtian to the brink of death in terms of morality. He was trying to label Yang Dingtian as someone who went against the rules of the world. Once this accusation was confirmed, Yang Dingtian would be completely condemned by everyone and would never be able to make a comeback, let alone become the Lord of Cloud Heaven City. When Mother heard this rumor, she immediately vomited blood and fainted, Yanyan said angrily. "At that time, I really wanted to kill Tang Xin with my sword. That lowly servant should have died 1,000 times, 10,000 times, Yang Dingtian coldly said. "Fortunately, she is dead, otherwise I would have torn her body into pieces." Then, Yang Dingtian desperately suppressed his anger and said softly, "Baby, what's next?" Then, I saw many people's strange gazes. I really couldn't stay here any longer. Sister Ningning, Mother, and I have already discussed it. When you come back, we will move out and live in Big Brother's Black Blood Castle. Wait until next year, after you've defeated those bastards in Cloud Sky City, we'll chase them all out. Then, we'll come back and live here. I can't stand living with these disgusting people for even a day." Yanyan trembled. In the past, I was curious as to why Father was so cruel to them. Now, I finally understand. Father was too soft-hearted back then. He should have chased all of them out. Yang Dingtian said, "Don't worry. When I become the Lord of Cloud Sky City, I'll definitely get rid of all the dirty people in Cloud Sky City." Then? What happened next? Then, this morning, before the sun rose, I got up and left Cloud Sky City to pick you up on the way. Firstly, I was afraid that Tang Xin would come back and scold me again. Secondly, I missed you. You've only been gone for a day and I can't help but miss you. Yanyan said shyly. Also, I wanted to tell you my idea of living in Black Blood Castle as soon as possible. Silly. Yang Dingtian's heart was about to melt. He said softly, "Okay, after this matter is over, we'll immediately live in Black Blood Castle and come back next year." Then, what happened? Yanyan said, "Then, when I walked for more than 10 miles, the sky was still dark. Suddenly, Tang Xin rushed over. She seemed to have gone crazy and desperately swung her sword to kill me. Then I fought with her, but my cultivation had regressed too much over the years, so I couldn't beat her. Moreover, she had become very strange. It was as if she had really gone crazy. She was much stronger than usual. I was almost injured by her, so I tried my best to resist her. But suddenly, her entire body seemed to have turned into a zombie. The sword in her hand fell to the ground and her entire body smashed towards my sword. I desperately wanted to stop, but it was too fast. It was too late and my sword still pierced through. Then, she fell to the ground and died. I was completely stunned. I really didn't want to kill her at all. After a while, Shimin Ju and Tang Buizhao appeared. In an instant, Yang Dingtian felt a dense aura of conspiracy. Baby, when Tang Xian rushed out to kill you, what was the expression on her face? Was there any special hatred? Yang Dingtian asked. Yan Yan sank into her memories. Then, she shook her head and said, I really didn't. It seemed very crazy and very scared. It was that kind of horrifying fear. Did you stab her deeply? Yang Dingtian asked. I don't know. But when I stabbed her, I immediately pulled it out. I really didn't want to kill her, Yan Yan said. The tree wants to be still, but the wind won't stop. Yang Dingtian's sudden rise completely destroyed their plan to make Qin Shaobai the Cloud Heaven City Lord. Now, they finally made a move. However, they didn't expect their methods to be so despicable. Moreover, they even sacrificed Tang Xian's life. Although Tang Xian didn't have much weight, she was still Shimin Ju's fiancée and Tang Buizhao's daughter. Letting her die in order to set up a conspiracy was not very reasonable. What exactly happened? However, what did the other party want? He believed that he would know soon because Yang Yan was waiting for Yang Dingtian to negotiate with him. Big baby! Yan Yan suddenly shouted. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Why did this girl change the way she called him? I'll say something. Don't be angry, Yan Yan said carefully. Say it. If it's very stupid, then I'll still be angry, Yang Dingtian said with a smile. If they want to use me to make you do something that will put you in danger, you must not agree to it. Yan Yan said, don't worry. They won't really dare to kill me. That bastard Qin Huayu has wild ambitions for me. And Qin Huayu is their master, so they won't really dare to touch me. At most, they'll just lock me up. If that's the case, leave Cloud Heaven City immediately and come back to pick me up a year later. Ah. Yan Yan didn't finish speaking. She gasped because her butt was hit again. Lock you up for a year. Impossible, I can't do it, Yang Dingtian said softly. Yan Yan, trust me, okay? Let me make the decision. Okay. Yan Yan said softly. Then, she buried her head in Yang Dingtian's chest and quietly listened to his heartbeat. Yang Dingtian, how did it feel to meet your ex-wife this time? Yan Yan suddenly asked with a strange voice. Yang Dingtian shuddered and said, I beg you. Don't mention the word ex-wife in the future. Every time I hear it, my whole body trembles. This time, I realized that she wasn't like a person. She was like a machine draped in a beautiful human skin. Every minute I spend with her is like torture to me, unlike you. Every minute and every second I spend with her feels like I'm in heaven. Before Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Yan Yan hugged Yang Dingtian's neck and kissed him with her soft lips. Yang Dingtian, in the other world, you must be a bad boy who sweet-talks girls. But after coming to this world and experiencing so many things, you've been crushed, Yan Yan said with a smile. Yeah, so you have to use your beauty and soul to help me recover and turn me back into a bad boy who sweet-talks, Yang Dingtian said with a smile. No way, I won't ask for trouble, Yan Yan said softly. Okay, Yan Yan, I'm going to meet that pack of wolves and see what they want, Yang Dingtian said. Okay. Yan Yan said softly. If it was in the past, she would definitely order Yang Dingtian to do this and that, but now, she just softly said okay. Baby, I will definitely save you from this pack of wolves, no matter the price. Yang Dingtian kissed Yan Yan's forehead, then put her on the bed and turned to walk out of the stone room. When he walked out of the iron gate, he suddenly heard Yan Yan's loud shout behind him. Yang Dingtian, I love you. Yang Yan, tell me, what do you want? Yang Dingtian asked directly. Hearing Yang Dingtian shout his name, Yang Dingtian's eyes suddenly turned cold, and said, Yang Dingtian, watch your mouth, don't think that I don't dare to kill you. If you want to kill me, it's as easy as turning your hand, and you also want to kill me, but you need to do it in a proper way. Yang Dingtian said, tell me, what do you want? Although I'm very weak, if you want to negotiate, I think I'm the most suitable person. Enforcing the law impartially is a capital punishment. Yang Yan said coldly, Cloud Heaven City's laws are supreme. When Yang Dingtian heard this, he really wanted to laugh out loud. The other party kept saying that the law was the law, but who didn't know that the law was only for the weak? Just Qin Xiaobai alone, how many innocent people did he kill in the Northwest Qin family? He also didn't receive much punishment. It was only because Yan Yan wasn't here. If he was, even if Tang Xian had a noble status, even if Yan Yan killed her, Yang Yan wouldn't dare to say a word about punishment. Don't joke around, great elder Yang Yan. Which part of you looks like someone who enforces the law impartially? Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Impudent. Yang Yan was instantly enraged. Yang Dingtian, if you continue to be rude, don't blame me for being ruthless. My patience is limited. Yang Dingtian looked at him coldly. He didn't say anything to plead for leniency and just waited for the other party to speak. Seeing that Yang Dingtian didn't take the bait, Yang Yan's face turned cold and his expression changed. After a few minutes, he turned his back to Yang Dingtian and said, although Yan Yan has a different opinion, she is still my junior. Although she killed Tang Xian, the deceased has already passed away. City Lord Shiman has given Cloud Heaven City a new lease on life. Shiman Yan Yan is his only child, so how can I bear to kill her? After all, she also calls me great-grandfather. Yang Dingtian sneered in his heart, but he didn't rudely interrupt Yang Yan. Otherwise, he would really fly into a rage out of humiliation. Shiman Yan Yan doesn't have to die, but she has to atone for her crimes, Yang Yan said. Then, he turned to look at Yang Dingtian. How can she atone for her crimes? Yang Dingtian asked. Divorce you and marry the young master of the Qin family. Then, Cloud Heaven City will be safe for a few decades. Yang Yan said, the news of City Lord Shiman's death has already spread throughout the world. The various subordinate forces of Cloud Heaven City are already ready to rebel. The Northwest Qin family is extremely powerful. If Cloud Heaven City and the Qin family are united by marriage, the subordinate forces won't dare to rebel. No. Yang Dingtian said straightforwardly, change the condition. There's no room for discussion. I'm giving an order, not negotiating, Yang Yan said coldly. In short, if Shiman Yan Yan wants to live, she has to marry Qin Huayu immediately. Otherwise, she will be hanged. With me in Cloud Heaven City, no one can overturn the heavens. Yang Dingtian said coldly, really? Of course. Yang Yan said coldly. Goodbye. Yang Dingtian turned and left. Seeing Yang Dingtian leave so decisively, Yang Yan was instantly stunned. After Yang Dingtian left, he immediately brought Shiman Ningning, Luer, and Madame Shiman, who vomited blood again, and left Cloud Heaven City. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian and Shiman Lai brought a total of 2,500 black blood cavalry and arrived at the city. Instantly, the entire Cloud Heaven City was shaken. The Black Blood Cavalry was Cloud Heaven City's largest armed force. They only listened to the orders of 2 people. One was the Cloud Heaven City Lord, and the other was the Black Blood Cavalry commander. No one expected that Yang Dingtian and Shiman Lai would be so decisive and directly use the most violent armed force. Shiman Lai rode on his horse and said coldly to the top of the city wall, release her immediately, or we'll flatten Cloud Heaven City. At this moment, a bird landed on Ningning's shoulder. This was one of the birds that Ningning had sent to Cloud Heaven Mountain to find out the truth behind Tang Xian's death. That bird leaned close to Ningning's ear and chirped in a bird language that only Ningning could understand. Suddenly, Ningning's expression changed, and her beautiful eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Chapter 98. Shimen Lai, are you rebelling? The first to speak was Elder Tang Buizhao. Rebelling? Shimen Lai laughed. The one who wants to rebel isn't me, right? It's someone else. Tang Buizhao was furious and was about to berate him when Yang Yan raised his hand to stop him. Yang Yan then said coldly, Shimen Lai, take your people and leave immediately. The Elders Guild can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, you will be charged with the crime of rebellion and will die without a burial ground. Am I, Shimen Lai, someone who is afraid of death? Shimen Lai laughed, if I die, then I die. Let's all die together. Shimen Ju said indifferently, then are you going to watch foster father's decades of hard work be destroyed in a day? Such a filthy cloud heaven city, it's better to destroy it and be reborn. Shimen Lai said, don't talk nonsense. If you don't hand over Yan Yan in 15 minutes, I will kill my way into the city. Ha! Yang Yan laughed coldly, I, Yang Yan, have never been threatened by anyone. The moment you attack the city is the moment I kill Shimen Yan Yan. No matter if you win or lose, you can only get her corpse. So, if you want to negotiate, you have to withdraw your troops first. Otherwise, Shimen Yan Yan will definitely die. No matter. When the time comes, I will kill all of you to avenge Yan Yan. Shimen Lai said coldly with an unyielding tone. Can you kill them? Yang Yan said coldly, I'm afraid you will be the ones who will be wiped out. I want to try. Shimen Lai said coldly. Then, Shimen Lai shouted at the Black Blood Cavalry behind him, brothers, are you afraid of death? Kill! The 3,000 cavalry shouted in unison. It was like a thunderclap that was deafening. A cloud of dust on the ground was violently shaken. Don't talk nonsense. Shimen Lai said coldly, I am not here to negotiate. I am here to ask for her. Light the incense. Under Shimen Lai's command, one of the cavalry took out a red incense stick and lit it. It took 15 minutes for the incense stick to be lit. If you don't hand him over in 15 minutes, we'll start a war. After saying that, Shimen Lai slowly closed his eyes, indicating that he didn't want to talk anymore. The muscles on Yang Yan's face twitched violently as he snapped, if a prince commits a crime, he will be punished the same as a commoner. I am enforcing the law impartially, but for the sake of favoritism, all of you are actually willing to slaughter your fellow disciples. I, Yang Yan, will stand right here and will not take a single step back. If you want to fight, then I will fight. Immediately, a fierce battle broke out between the two sides. At this time, Shimen Ningning suddenly waved to Yang Dingtian and said, Little Tian, come here. I have something important to tell you. Yang Dingtian rode his horse to Ningning's side. Come closer, put your ear closer. Ningning said in a low voice. Her beautiful face was still filled with disbelief and shock, as well as a hint of bashfulness. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Was Sister Ningning's words so secretive? Did she need to be so close? Yang Dingtian approached, and Ningning whispered into his ear, Tang Xian wasn't killed by Yan Yan. It was really killed by Qin Shaobai. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's pupils shrank as he asked in a low voice, why? Tang Xian was Shimen Ju's fiancée, Tang Buizhao's daughter. No matter if it was to frame Yan Yan or to deal with me, the price of killing Tang Xian was too high. That's right. He had no choice but to kill Tang Xian. Ningning said in a low voice, because Tang Xian saw something she shouldn't have seen, so she had to die. What did she see? Yang Dingtian asked. Ningning blushed and trembled slightly. Yesterday morning, Qin Shaobai was in a remote valley, being intimate with Yang Shishir, and was accidentally discovered by Tang Xian. Yang Dingtian's body trembled as he looked at Ningning in disbelief. He knew that Qin Shaobai was evil, but he didn't expect it to be to this extent. He was a complete beast, worse than a beast. Ningning saw that Yang Dingtian was looking at her in disbelief, and her face turned even redder. She said angrily, "Why are you looking at me like that? This is too crazy." Yang Dingtian said, "Was this what the bird said?" N. Ningning nodded. A pair of squirrels who were picking pine nuts saw it and told it. "And then?" Yang Dingtian asked. Next, Ningning told him the whole truth of the matter. When Qin Xiaobai and Yang Shishir were doing something ugly, Tang Xian accidentally discovered it. Thus, Qin Xiaobai made a prompt decision to humiliate Tang Xian and forced her to take a poison pill. Then, he threatened Tang Xian not to tell anyone about the ugly thing between him and Yang Shishir. Tang Xian was afraid of death, so she could only agree. However, Qin Xiaobai used the poison to force Tang Xian to spread rumors in Cloud Sky City, saying that the reason why Yang Dingtian became so strong was because he used an evil technique to devour Madame Shimon's Xian Qi. Thus, Tang Xian went to Yanyan's house to scold and spread rumors. Yanyan angrily said that Tang Xian was going to kill her. This created a motive for Yanyan to kill her. Moreover, the rumors about Yang Dingtian and Madame Shimon quickly spread throughout Cloud Sky City. This morning, Yanyan was afraid that Tang Xian would scold her again, so she left Cloud Sky City early. When Qin Xiaobai found out, he immediately led Tang Xian to ambush her. The moment Yanyan appeared, he forced Tang Xian to rush out and kill Yanyan. At this time, the poison in Tang Xian's body took effect. She became crazy, but her cultivation increased greatly. Thus, Yanyan was not her follower and could only resist with all her might. Qin Xiaobai, on the other hand, was controlling Tang Xian from afar. He picked the best opportunity to make Tang Xian die from the poison and fall towards Yanyan's sword. Then, Yanyan's sword would accidentally pierce Tang Xian's chest. This way, Qin Xiaobai perfectly created the illusion that Yanyan killed Tang Xian. Because he was afraid that the scandal between him and Yang Shishir would be exposed, he never thought of letting Tang Xian go. However, in such a short period of time, he was able to come up with such a vicious plan. This person's viciousness and scheming was unimaginable. Qin Xiaobai's vicious plan was completely interlinked, and it killed 3 birds with 1 stone. Not only did he kill Tang Xian so that his scandal would never be exposed, he also successfully pushed the crime of murder onto Yanyan and destroyed Yang Dingtian's reputation. One had to know that these few days, Yang Dingtian's reputation was like the sun in the sky. It posed a fatal threat to Qin Xiaobai's position. Yang Dingtian breaking through more than 10 levels in 5 days was inconceivable in itself. Now that Qin Xiaobai spread such a rumor, it was very easy for people to believe. Moreover, this rumor had another use. That was, if the scandal between him and Yang Dingtian were to spread in the future, it could be said that Yang Dingtian wanted to cover up the scandal, so he bit Qin Xiaobai instead. It could be said that if Ningning was not a genius beast speaker, if this scandal was not discovered by the little squirrel, then the truth might really be buried forever. After understanding the truth of the entire matter, Yang Dingtian took a deep breath of cold air. He already knew that Qin Xiaobai was a person like a poisonous snake. He had a slight understanding of it in the elimination battle, but it was not deep. Today, he finally knew what a poisonous snake was. Such scheming, such viciousness. Wasn't it just a poisonous snake? When a normal person's scandal was discovered, they would immediately panic and make all kinds of stupid moves. They would either silence the witness or kneel down and beg. Only Qin Xiaobai could immediately think of a perfect poisonous plan in such a short period of time. A poisonous plan that killed 3 birds with 1 stone. Not only did he clear his name, but he also dealt a fatal blow to Yang Dingtian. At this moment, Qin Xiaobai was standing behind Yang Yan. He did not make a sound today and had a harmless smile on his face. When he saw Yang Dingtian looking at him, he even smiled and nodded at Yang Dingtian. Qin Xiaobai, this poisonous snake, could not be left alive. He had to die. If he didn't die, the entire Cloud Sky City would not be peaceful. Yang Dingtian was going to travel and cultivate soon. If a poisonous snake like Qin Xiaobai stayed in Cloud Sky City, Ningning, Yan Yan, and even Madame Shimen would be in danger. This poisonous snake's viciousness made one's hair stand on end. However, in this conspiracy, what role did Yang Yan, Tang Buizhao, and Shimen Ju play? The scene of Yan Yan's murder was discovered by Shimen Ju immediately. At this moment, Yang Dingtian could obviously expose the truth in front of everyone and expose Qin Xiaobai and Yang Shishi's scandal. However, Qin Xiaobai had already blocked this gap with his sword. Now that Yang Dingtian said that Yang Shishi and Qin Xiaobai were having an affair, others would say that he was trying to cover up the scandal between him and Madame Shimen, so he made a false accusation. Therefore, the truth was not important now. What was important was to kill Qin Xiaobai. No matter the cost, he had to kill Qin Xiaobai. He had to think of a way to kill Qin Xiaobai. At this moment, time passed slowly. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the burning incense. Shimen Lai said that if they did not release the person after the incense burned out, it would be a declaration of war. As for Shimen Lai, he closed his eyes and leaned his sword on the ground, waiting for the final moment to arrive. Who? A gust of wind blew, and the incense was completely burned out and extinguished. Yang Yan still did not hand over Yan Yan. Instantly, everyone's eyes fell on Shimen Lai. Shimen Lai, who had his eyes closed, slowly opened his eyes and nodded, "All right, let's kill." Then, Shimen Lai pulled down the helmet on his mask and slowly drew out the sword on his back. He pointed at the city gate and shouted, "Draw your swords." Shah! The 3,000 Black Blood Cavalry suddenly drew their swords and pointed at the city gate tower. Instantly, a forest of sharp swords flickered with dazzling light under the setting sun. "Kill!" Shimen Lai shouted and took the lead. He gradually increased his speed and rushed towards the city gate. Yang Yan's expression changed drastically. He suddenly shouted, "City guards, get ready. Cloud Heaven City disciples, get ready. Prepare for war and clean up the sect." Following that, Yang Yan shouted, "Shah!" Instantly, thousands of people in the city drew out their weapons and prepared for war. "Where is the blazing fire cavalry?" Qin Xiaobai shouted indifferently. Instantly, a fiery red cavalry appeared from the dense forest a dozen miles away. They pressed towards the rear wing of the Black Blood Cavalry, intending to launch a pincer attack from the front and back. There were more than 1,000 cavalrymen fully armed. Their bright red armor was like a raging fire. The Blazing Fire Cavalry was a newly established armed force created by the Elders Guild after Shimen Wuya's accident in fear of a rebellion in the territory. It was used to fight against Shimen Lai's Black Blood Cavalry. But how difficult is it to build an elite cavalry army? It takes at least a few years to build an elite cavalry army of 1,000 people. How can it be built in just a month? This is clearly the armed force of the Northwest Qin clan secretly helping Qin Xiaobai seize power. Yang Yan coldly said to Shimen Lai, "If you want to fight, then fight. Let's see who will be completely annihilated." At this moment, Yang Yan's side obviously had the upper hand. However, once the battle started, both sides would undoubtedly suffer heavy losses. Cloud Heaven City would basically be destroyed in a day. At this moment, Qin Xiaobai suddenly said, "Wait. Senior Yang Dingtian, can you come out and say a few words?" "Speak," Yang Dingtian shouted. "Can you bear to see Cloud Heaven City destroyed in a day?" Qin Xiaobai sneered. "No matter who becomes the Cloud Heaven City Lord, this city belongs to both of us. Won't your heart ache if it is destroyed?" "Speak," Yang Dingtian continued. He wanted to see what kind of venomous tongue Qin Xiaobai was going to spit out at this moment. "Senior Yang, your reaction is so intense. You actually used your final violent method. Then, normal people would think that you are doing this for Yan Yan Shimen, or are you trying to cover up the scandal between you and Madame Shimen?" many people would think that the rumor was true. You really relied on the evil method to consecutively break through more than 10 levels. Qin Shaobai smiled, but what he spat out was extremely poisonous venom. What did it mean to bite back and bite deep into the bone? This was it. Qin Shaobai, you are slandering me. Madame Shimon's vision suddenly turned black. Instantly, her blood surged and she was about to fall off the horse. Yang Dingtian didn't avoid suspicion at all. He went forward to support Madame Shimon's delicate body. Then, he looked at Qin Shaobai and said, "Get to the point. I have an idea. It can prevent Cloud Heaven City from killing each other and clear Senior Yang's name. It can even save Shimen Yan Shimen. Senior Yang, are you willing to listen?" Qin Shaobai smiled. "Speak." Qin Shaobai immediately said in front of everyone in Cloud Heaven City, the 23rd day of every month commemorates the first time the Tiando League defeated evil ways to save the world. Therefore, it is designated as the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day is divided into Judgment Day and Judgment Day. Judgment Day, of course, uses witnesses and material evidence to convict Shimen Yan Shimen. Judgment Day, on the other hand, is a duel. Qin Shaobai glanced at Yang Dingtian and continued, "So, Senior Yang, how about we use a duel to resolve this conflict? You will represent Shimen Yan Shimen and I will represent Tang Xian's family. We will have a duel at the end of the month. The winner lives and the loser dies. Senior Yang, if you win, I will die and Shimen Yan Shimen will be innocent. Senior Yang, if you lose, you will die and Shimen Yan Shimen will be guilty. How about that?" Once he said this, everyone instantly gasped in surprise. Qin Shaobai smiled and said, "Isn't this the best of both worlds? Not only can we avoid a civil war in Cloud Heaven City, but we can also prove your innocence. I am only 10 levels higher than you, but you can break through 19 levels in just 5 days. Now, there are still 9 days until the Judgment Day. If you rely on your peerless talent to break through, then it shouldn't be a problem for you to break through 10 levels in 9 days. As long as you defeat me and kill me, not only can you save Shimen Yan Shimen, but you can also prove your peerless talent. Why not?" After Qin Shaobai finished speaking, Shimen Lai, Shimen Ningning, and Madame Shimen all said in unison, "Extremely shameless." Qin Shaobai's words seemed to make sense, but in reality, he was completely changing the facts. Yang Dingtian relied on the Yin Yang festival that happened once every 300 years to break through 19 levels in 5 days. Now, wanting to break through 10 levels in 9 days was completely a fool's dream. At this moment, Qin Shaobai finally revealed his final poisonous snake tail. The scheme he set up was not targeted at Shimen Yan Shimen, but at Yang Dingtian. He only had one goal, and that was to kill Yang Dingtian. On this point, he had the same thoughts as Yang Dingtian. No matter the cost, Yang Dingtian wanted to kill Qin Shaobai. And Qin Shaobai also wanted to kill Yang Dingtian at all costs. Because he was the biggest obstacle to Qin Shaobai taking control of Cloud Heaven City, his sudden rise had already given Qin Shaobai immense pressure. Shimen Lai instantly looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "Young Master Yang, you can't agree. Let's fight now and take back Miss Yan Shimen." Ningning said, "Little Tian, I won't allow you to agree to him." Madame Shimen said gently, "Good child, the innocent knows that they are innocent, and the muddy knows that they are muddy. I won't take this shameless rumor to heart anymore. You don't have to care about it either." Yang Dingtian looked at Qin Shaobai. Qin Shaobai still had a smile on his face, but his mouth was filled with venomous fangs. "All right, I agree. 9 days later, the trial by duel. You and I will fight. The winner will live, and the loser will die." Yang Dingtian said slowly with a smile. Instantly, the city gate was filled with exclamations. Yang Dingtian's words were like a storm that blew past. Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. Was he crazy? On the surface, Qin Xiaobai was a 9-star mystic martial warrior, 1 stage and 10 levels higher than Yang Dingtian. However, everyone knew that he had definitely broken through to the mystic martial master level. They just didn't know how many stars he had. Mystic martial warrior, and mystic martial master. Qin Xiaobai was at least 2 stages higher than Yang Dingtian, more than 10 levels higher. Even if the world was turned upside down and the universe was destroyed, it was still impossible to cross 2 stages to fight. Ningning was stunned for a while before hissing, "Little Tian, are you crazy?" Inside Black Blood Castle. "Yang Dingtian, this isn't bravery. You are crazy." Shimen Lai rarely criticized Yang Dingtian. "Crossing 2 stages to fight, you are simply seeking your own death." Yang Dingtian asked, "Big brother, how strong is Qin Xiaobai?" "He should be a 1-star mystic martial master, 2 stages and 12 levels higher than you," Shimen Lai said. Just as Shimen Lai said, crossing 2 stages to fight was impossible. Yang Dingtian wasn't that arrogant. However, Yang Dingtian was willing to try crossing 1 stage because he had the 9 Yang mystic veins, the world's #1 sword technique, the deep-sea Xian clothes, and the night owl strange blade. He was willing to take the risk to cross 1 stage. If Qin Xiaobai was a 1-star mystic martial master, then if Yang Dingtian broke through to the 3-star mystic martial warrior level, he was willing to take the risk. Even if there was a gap of 8 levels, crossing 1 stage to fight. However, if that was the case, Yang Dingtian would only need 9 days to break through 4 stages. Based on his current cultivation speed, Yang Dingtian would need a full 20 days to break through half a stage. Breaking through 4 stages in 9 days was simply unheard of. This was because the once-in-300 years Yin-Yang festival had already passed. "Master, I want to break through 4 stages in 9 days. Can I do it? I remember you mentioned it before." Yang Dingtian asked in his heart. Dongfang Minmi sank into deep thought and didn't speak for a long time. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's heart was filled with uneasiness. "There is." Dongfang Minmi's first sentence made Yang Dingtian feel relieved. Dongfang Minmi continued, "However, I really don't know if I should say it because it might cause you to fall into the abyss." Yang Dingtian said, "Master, please speak." Dongfang Minmi said, "About 6,000 miles away from here, there is a temple of blood. This sect's cornerstone treasure is a 1,000-year-old blood pool. This blood pool floats above the terrifying magma. Over the past 1,000 years, countless demonic beasts have been thrown into the blood pool to be refined into blood essence. The enemies killed by the Temple of Blood were also thrown into the blood pool. Even the experts of the Temple of Blood were thrown into the blood pool to be refined into blood essence before they died. After 1,000 years of accumulation, the fire attribute energy in the blood pool is extremely powerful. Every time the disciples of the Temple of Blood are about to break through, they will cultivate in the blood pool. Others might need half a year to break through, but the disciples of the Temple of Blood only need half a month. With your talent, as long as you enter the blood pool, I believe you will break through within a few days." Temple of Blood? Blood pool? In this instant, Yang Dingtian recalled the extremely alluring Dugu Fengwu who killed people like scything flax. She was the #1 demon lady who was evenly matched with Dongfang Bingling. Chapter 99. The Temple of Blood was one of the old factions of the mysterious evil ways. It was once the backbone of the World Extermination Army and the right-hand man of the world's #1 evil force, the Temple of Annihilation. What were the evil ways? Just look at the demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu. Speaking of which, Dugu Fengwu was so powerful, and it was unknown if she had anything to do with the blood pool. Dongfang Minmi sighed and said, "Actually, even if I told you about the blood pool, it would be the same as not telling you." "Why?" Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Minmi said, "Firstly, the Temple of Blood is an old faction of the evil ways. They are sealed off and do not allow any outsiders to enter. Otherwise, They will kill without mercy, let alone you, a member of the Tiando League. Secondly, the blood pool is the sect's ultimate treasure, and its energy is limited. 99% of the Temple of Blood's disciples are unable to cultivate in the blood pool, let alone an outsider from the Tiando League. Thirdly, the Temple of Blood is over 6,000 miles away and is separated from the Tiando League by a few thousand miles of the neutral zone, the land of chaos. That place is chaotic, and it is a place without order. With your current cultivation, it is simply too dangerous for you to pass through the land of chaos. Fourthly, the righteous and evil ways are irreconcilable. Once you are involved with the evil ways, you will never be able to break free. Once the Tiando League finds out that you are involved with the Temple of Blood, you will never be able to clear your name. There will be no place for you to stand in this world. After finishing, Dongfang Minmi said indifferently, therefore, we have to think of other methods. Don't think about this path. Dongfang Minmi paused and said, in fact, if you are forced into a corner, Master would rather you use the yin-yang devour mystic art to break through. That is much better than going to the Temple of Blood. Yang Dingtian heard and instantly fell into silence. What his master said was very important, especially the fourth point. The consequences were too severe. If there were other methods, then the Temple of Blood really couldn't be visited. Just by thinking about how terrifying Dugu Fengwu was, one would know. She was an extremely vicious demoness who could kill hundreds of people like slaughtering chickens and ducks. If he really went to the Temple of 10,000 blood, perhaps even 10 lives wouldn't be enough. Most importantly, anyone who got involved with evil ways would become the archenemy of the Tiando League. There would be no place for them in the world. Evil ways had launched several world-ending wars in the past 1,000 years, averaging once every 200 years. The most recent one was nearly 200 years ago. Evil ways had destroyed half of the primal chaos continent in that world-ending battle. Hundreds of millions of people had died. Close to 200 years ago, the number one power of the evil ways, the Temple of Annihilation, produced a peerless expert, Wan Wentian. He spent 20 years to unify the evil ways, and then led an invincible army to the Sea of Hell to conquer the entire primal chaos continent. In just a few months, countless sects were annihilated, and they swept across the far west continent. All the powers of the Tiando League were shocked. They chose their elite disciples to form an army of millions to fight against the Temple of Annihilation, but they lost all 3 battles. Dongfang Minmi's grandmaster, the Yin-Yang School's headmaster, Yun Wanli, died in the hands of Wan Wentian. Back then, more than half of the 3 sects, 9 clans, and 27 branches died in these 3 battles. The Tiando League kept retreating. After losing the far west continent, they lost half of the northwest continent. The flames of war spread to the northwest Qin clan's territory, and the Qin clan's main city was destroyed. The Tiando League no longer had the strength to fight, and the primal chaos continent was about to fall under the Temple of Annihilation. In the end, the hidden sect was the one who saved the world. The hidden sect, which hadn't appeared in the world for a few hundred years, was led by Nihility Piao Ling, who led hundreds of peerless experts to the northwest continent. They fought against Wan Wentian in front of millions of people. Wan Wentian was defeated and died, and the Temple of Annihilation's allied forces were immediately torn apart. The Tiando League's allied forces took the opportunity to kill, and the allied forces of the evil ways were slaughtered. Less than a tenth of the allied forces of the evil ways were left, and their vitality was greatly damaged. Therefore, for the next 200 years, the evil ways didn't dare to raise their heads and could only hide in the darkness. Dongfang Minmi had already told this story to Yang Dingtian many times. Yang Dingtian was fascinated every time. Dongfang Minmi often emphasized that if it wasn't for the Battle of Annihilation, perhaps, Wan Wentian and Nihility Piao Ling would have advanced to martial sage. The blood feud from 200 years ago was still very clear. Therefore, once one was associated with the evil ways, it would be extremely dangerous. Therefore, it was impossible for Yang Dingtian to go to the Temple of Blood. We have to let Yang Dingtian break through to 3-star Mystic Martial Warrior. If it's within 9 levels, then there's still a chance to fight. If it's 2 levels, then I only have one suggestion, Shimenlai said. Let young Master Yang Dingtian escape immediately. In any case, they won't dare to really kill Yan. Madame Shimen nodded in agreement and said, then tell me, what method can let Yang Dingtian break through to 3-star Mystic Martial Warrior within 9 days? Any method, no matter how remote or evil it is. After she finished speaking, everyone fell into deep thought. Shimenlai thought for a long time and finally shook his head. Ningning's beautiful eyes flashed, and her face suddenly turned slightly red. Madame Shimen immediately looked at her and said, Ningning, what method do you have? Suddenly, Shimenlai looked at Shimen Ningning expectantly, hoping that she could come up with a solution. After hesitating for a while, Ningning shook her head and said softly, I don't have any method. Madame Shimen sighed helplessly, and everyone fell into silence again. Lai, you're busy, so you don't have to stay here. Think of a method slowly. You can go and handle the affairs. Also, bring little Tian around the Black Blood Castle, Madame Shimen said to Shimenlai. Yes. Shimenlai said. Although Yang Dingtian didn't understand, he still followed Shimenlai out. After Shimenlai and Yang Dingtian were far away, Madame Shimen said, Ning, what method do you have? Tell us. Lai and little Tian are already far away. There's only the 2 of us left here. Shimen Ningning looked at Madame Shimen in surprise and said softly, Godmother, I really don't have any method. You grew up by my side. You can't lie to me, Madame Shimen said softly. Just now, your eyes and your expression told me that you have a method. It's just that you can't say it. Don't worry, it's already come to this point. What else can't be said? What else is more important than saving Yan? What else is more important than Yang Dingtian's reputation? I've said it before. No matter how evil the method is, it's fine. After hearing Madame Shimen's words, Ningning couldn't help but look at Yang Dingtian. Before she could say anything, her face instantly turned red. But this method is really very evil, Ningning said shyly. This method is a unique evil technique of the Fox Demon clan. It's called the Yin-Yang Devour Mystic Great Technique. In a special formation, special medicines, chants, and mystic chi flow are used to allow a woman's mystic chi to enter a man's body and achieve a breakthrough. After speaking, Ningning's face almost reached her chest. Her voice was also so soft that it couldn't be heard. After hearing this, Madame Shimen couldn't help but blush. She roughly knew that it was very abnormal, but she didn't expect it to be so evil. She knew that although Ningning's mystic chi couldn't attack, it was very deep. She wanted Ningning to pass her mystic chi to Yang Dingtian, but mystic chi was very precious. A girl's innocence was also very precious. No matter what, she couldn't say it. Even if it was to save Yan, Shimen Ningning was also her daughter. She treated her as her own. Godmother, actually, I'm willing to use this evil technique to pass my mystic chi to little Tian. Ningning suddenly said softly, but it's already impossible now. Because the mystic chi in my body is poisonous, I can't give it to little Tian anymore. So, even if I have the Yin-Yang Devour Mystic Great Technique, it's useless. Madame Shimen frowned slightly and said, then, for little Tian to break through to become a 3-star mystic martial warrior, what cultivation does the woman need to perform the technique with him have? At least the martial ancestor realm. Ningning said, because the mystic chi that can be passed to little Tian through the Yin-Yang Devour Mystic Great Technique is less than 1%. Originally, I could do it, and I'm the best candidate, but... Madame Shimen said gently, it's really hard to find such a woman. Moreover, she has to be willing to give her body to little Tian. It's even harder to find such a woman. After walking around the Black Blood Castle for a while, Yang Dingtian returned to his room and recuperated on his bed. The courtyard he was in was currently very quiet. It was as if everyone had already left. The servants and warriors who were originally cleaning outside had all left. At this moment, the door was gently pushed open, and a figure walked in. It was Lu Er. Young master, madam wants you to go over. Yang Dingtian was slightly startled. Then, he nodded and got up from the bed. Lu Er was about to go forward to support him, but Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "No need. I'm completely fine now." He was indeed fine. Although he was injured in the battle with Tang Li, it wasn't serious. It was more of a lack of strength. After a day and night of recuperation, and with Ningning's medicinal pills, he was almost fully recovered. After Yang Dingtian got up, Lu Er immediately went forward to help him wash up and get dressed. After everything was done, Lu Er said, "Young master, please follow me." Then, Lu led the way in front while Yang Dingtian followed behind. It was his first time seeing the Black Blood Castle. The Black Blood Castle was less than 100 miles away from Cloud Heaven City. It was at the bottom of the mountain and was a place that one had to pass to enter and exit Cloud Heaven City. Previously, Yang Dingtian had entered and exited Cloud Heaven City on a flying mount. Therefore, he had never passed by the Black Blood Castle. Although it was called a castle, it was actually a very large city fortress that was about a few thousand acres in size. In the surrounding 10 miles, there were 4 smaller castles protecting it. The entire castle was built with huge rocks. It was extremely sturdy and majestic. The highest point was almost 100 meters high. There were powerful energy crossbows, magma spray barrels, poison arrays, energy arrays, and hundreds of huge catapults everywhere. In the castle, other than the 3,000 elite Black Blood Cavalry, there were also thousands of servants. Every inch of the castle was armed to the teeth, which would make any forces in the world tremble with fear. This was because this was the last fortress of Cloud Heaven City. It could be said that by taking over the Black Blood Castle, it was equivalent to taking over 80% of Cloud Heaven City. Therefore, the Black Blood Castle was the largest armed force in Cloud Heaven City, even surpassing Cloud Heaven City itself. And the commander of the Black Blood Cavalry was only below 1 person in Cloud Heaven City. Now that Shimen Lai and Cloud Heaven City had fallen out, the Black Blood Castle was equivalent to choking Cloud Heaven City's throat. Therefore, Yang Yan and the others were extremely worried and apprehensive. It was already nighttime. Yang Dingtian's courtyard was a small garden, which had the best conditions in the entire Black Blood Castle. After exiting the garden, the castle appeared cold and hard. There were roads, walls, and watchtowers made of huge rocks everywhere. Lu Er brought Yang Dingtian into a small black stone building. After entering, it was an ordinary house with simple tables and chairs. Other than that, there was nothing else. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Why did Madame Shimen ask him to come here? Lu Er patted on the wall. Suddenly, an opening appeared on the stone wall, and a flight of stairs that led underground appeared. "Young master, please follow me," Lu Er said. Yang Dingtian thought for a moment before following her in. After he entered the flight of stairs, the wall automatically closed, and the small house returned to its original state. The two of them kept walking down. After hundreds of twists and turns, they were dozens of meters underground. Similar to Cloud Heaven City, this should be the dungeon of the Black Blood Castle. After walking for a full 3 minutes, they finally reached the end. There was a stone door in front of them. "Young master, you can go in by yourself. You just have to pat the door lightly," Lu Er said. Then, she turned around and went to the surface. Yang Dingtian frowned slightly. Why did Madame Shimen ask him to come here? It was really strange everywhere. But without a doubt, no one in the Black Blood Castle, no matter if it was Ningning or Madame Shimen, would harm him. Yang Dingtian walked up to the stone door and patted it lightly. Rumble. The thick stone door opened, and a ray of light shot out from inside. Yang Dingtian was slightly surprised as he spoke. Inside, the ground was filled with blood-red magma. It was surging and emitting a terrifying heat. A snow-white bed made of cold jade floated on top of the magma. On top of the cold jade bed, there were all kinds of demon cores floating. They shot out a blurry and bewitching light, forming an evil light array. Around the bed, there was a strange smoke. Yang Dingtian just took a sniff, and his mind instantly went into a daze. Chapter 100. Of course, what really surprised Yang Dingtian was the woman sitting on the snow-white platform. Her back was facing Yang Dingtian. Her hair was like clouds, and her skin was like snow. This was a mature woman, a woman whose age couldn't be seen at all. Yang Dingtian's entire body tensed up. He said with a hoarse voice, "Please, turn around." Hearing this, the woman immediately stood up slowly and turned around gently. Instantly, Yang Dingtian's heart almost stopped beating. He knew why Madame Shimen asked Lu to bring her here. It was for the mysterious devouring technique. No wonder Madame Shimen suddenly asked him to leave with Shimen Lai. She wanted to discuss this with Ningning. The woman turned around. Her mesmerizing face was even more beautiful than before. What was even more moving was her pair of beautiful eyes. This was a pair of slightly unfamiliar eyes. They were like water and mist, full of stories and charm. However, her face was still covered with a veil. "Please, take off your veil," Yang Dingtian said. The woman was slightly stunned. After hesitating for a moment, she took off the veil on her face. This was an extremely beautiful face, but at the same time, it was also an unfamiliar face. Her beauty wasn't inferior to Madame Shimen's, but she was more charming. She had a classic oval face, which was the legendary face of a fox. Even though she was already in her 30s, her face was still like a beautiful woman in her 20s. However, her unique charm wasn't something a woman in her 20s could have. At this moment, behind Yang Dingtian, the stone door slowly closed. "Who are you?" Yang Dingtian asked. "A sinner," the woman said. Her voice was soft and charming. "Then what are you doing now?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Forgive me," the woman said. "Using the mysterious devouring technique to transfer your mysterious qi to me to forgive my sins?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Yes." The woman raised her beautiful eyes and said, "Even though that won't be able to redeem my sins." "What crimes did you commit?" Yang Dingtian asked. The woman fell into silence. Then, she said, "Attracting foreign enemies, stealing the treasure of Cloud Sky City, and destroying the future of Cloud Sky City." "The treasure of the city?" Yang Dingtian asked, "Is it that 9th-rank secret manual?" "Yes," the woman replied. Yang Dingtian's breathing became heavier. "You said she destroyed Cloud Sky City's future. Are you referring to Yanyan's meridians being destroyed?" "Yes," the woman replied. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's heart was filled with flames. He tried his best to suppress it, and then slowly said, "Tell me the story inside." The woman gently shook her head and said, "I can't say. There are too many entanglements involving Yanyan. You are Yanyan's husband, so I don't have the right to say. Only Yanyan can tell you personally. Did you commit the crime on purpose? Or was it unintentional?" Yang Dingtian asked. The woman's beautiful eyes reddened, and 2 drops of tears fell. She said, "I didn't know it would be like this. I didn't do it on purpose, but I had my own selfish motives, so you came to atone for your sins? Using your purity and cultivation to atone for your sins?" Yang Dingtian slowly said, "Is it worth it? After all, this is your lifetime of cultivation." The woman softly said, "I hate my cultivation. I wish it would disappear in a day. To be able to offer these 2 things to you, I have no regrets. After this, what do you want?" Yang Dingtian asked, "Do you want me to release you?" "No," the woman said. "I won't go out for the rest of my life. I want to be underground for the rest of my life." I don't have the face to see people. I have let down everyone on the surface. She committed the crime unintentionally. She was kind, so she was willing to reveal her Xian Qi. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly filled with pity. He asked, "Who are you? What's your name?" "You can call me Big Sister Qing, the woman said. "How many levels can you help the outside break through?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Around level 2, or even level 3, but at most level 3, the woman said. Level 3 was a 2-star Xian martial warrior. This level of breakthrough wasn't enough. Yang Dingtian instantly sank into silence. Should he agree? Previously, for his pride and dignity, he had rejected Yan Yan's Xian devouring great skill. But now, in order to save Yan Yan, the other path of jumping into the Temple of 10,000 Blood was no longer feasible. As Yang Dingtian struggled with all his might, the fragrance of the lava evaporated into Yang Dingtian's body, causing his mind to become more and more blurred and his willpower to become weaker and weaker. At this moment, the woman walked down the jade platform barefoot and walked along a stone bridge to Yang Dingtian. Remember, you aren't doing this for yourself, or even to become stronger. You are doing this to save Yan Yan. The woman gently leaned over and said, "This doesn't hurt your pride." "No, this isn't fair to you." Yang Dingtian suddenly pushed the woman away. "It's very fair." The woman said, I also want to atone for my sins." At this moment, the woman suddenly spat out a pink smoke into Yang Dingtian's nose. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's mind suddenly became confused, as if he had fallen into a completely different world. The surrounding world instantly became completely blurred. The woman in front of him changed her face. One moment, she was Yan Yan, the next, she was Ningning, and then she was Dongfang Bingling. She even became Yang Dingtian's girlfriend on earth. Immediately after, the woman began to chant a strange incantation, and her body rippled with dense mystic energy. At the same time, the few demon cores floating at the head of the bed emitted a strange light and began to rotate, forming a bizarre light screen. The mystic energy within the light screen became denser and denser. "After tonight, forget everything, forget me. Just treat it as a dream." The woman stopped chanting and whispered in Yang Dingtian's ear. "No." Suddenly, Yang Dingtian opened his eyes and bit his tongue. He felt a sharp pain and fresh blood gushed out. His mind instantly regained clarity. Violently pushing the woman in front of him away, Yang Dingtian turned and left. "Why?" The woman trembled behind him. "I can't do this. No matter what the reason is, I can't do this." Yang Dingtian said. "Don't tell me you don't want to save Yan Yan?" The woman asked. "I'll find another way." Yang Dingtian said, "Even if I use the mystic devouring method to break through this time, it will leave a permanent knot in my heart. I will never be able to reach the peak in my life, and I will never be able to defeat Dongfang Bingling." "Then what about Yan Yan?" The woman shouted again. "I will do my best. I will give everything to save her, even if it means my life. If I can't save her in the end, it will be our fate." Yang Dingtian said slowly, "Nothing can be a reason for me to violate my principles and dignity." After that, Yang Dingtian turned and left. He gently patted the stone door, and the thick stone door opened. Yang Dingtian walked out and the stone door closed. "Master, I wish to go to the Temple of 10,000 Blood. I wish to achieve the greatest breakthrough in the shortest time possible, and only the 10,000 Blood pool can allow me to do so." Yang Dingtian said directly, "In this world, is there an outsider who has successfully entered the Temple of 10,000 Blood and cultivated in the 10,000 Blood pool?" Dongfang Minmi remained silent, expressing his attitude. The Temple of 10,000 Blood was an evil place in the world, and the temple master, Dugu Shao, was a great devil that struck fear in the world. He didn't wish for Yang Dingtian to send himself to his death. "Master, I tried my best just now, wanting to try the mystic devouring method, but I couldn't do it. I know that once I do that, my future will be ruined." My pride and confidence will be completely lost. Yang Dingtian said, so let me ask you. Is there an outsider who has successfully entered the 10,000 blood pool? Yes, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised and asked, who is it? Poison Hand's devil, Ouyang Luan, Dongfang Minmi said, this person is neither good nor evil, and has an extremely bad reputation. He is a genius evil doctor. His understanding of mystic chi and mystic meridians is very special and bizarre, and his cultivation is very high. In order to make himself stronger, he would do anything for his research. Stealing corpses, killing his wife, dissecting people while they were still alive, and so on. Of course, this person is most proficient in the way of poison, and almost no one can surpass him. Others have long forgotten his name, and everyone only remembers his nickname as Poison Hand's Devil. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt a chill run down his spine. This person sounded very terrifying and dangerous. When did he enter the Temple of 10,000 Blood and cultivate in the 10,000 Blood pool? Yang Dingtian asked. Around 13 years ago. Dongfang Minmi said, no one knows what method he used to make the temple master of 10,000 blood agree to let him cultivate in the 10,000 blood pool, but he succeeded. The world's poison expert. Yang Dingtian immediately thought of the deep-sea mystic poison in Sister Ningning's legs that could only be sucked out by the 10,000 poisons devil snake. This person was known as the world's poison expert, so it was very likely that he had the 10,000 poisons devil snake. In order to save Shimen Ningning, Yang Dingtian would definitely give it his all. Master, where is this Poison Hand's devil now? Yang Dingtian asked. You want to ask him for help? Dongfang Minmi said, that's impossible. Poison Hand's devil's heart is poisonous, cruel, and evil. He can't wait to see people die miserably, and would never take the initiative to save people. Only when he sees a strange poison would he save the victim, but after saving the victim, he would kill the victim. It's completely impossible to ask him for help. That's right, it was impossible to ask such a person for help, whether it was the 10,000 poisons devil snake or the method to cultivate in the 10,000 blood pool, unless the sun rose from the west. Such a person was the most selfish and extreme. Master, what is this person's weakness? Furthermore, it's a fatal weakness. As long as we poke at his weakness, he will definitely submit obediently. Yang Dingtian asked. Poison, a battle of poison. Dongfang Minmi said, this person has a nearly perverted fanaticism for the world's strange poisons. Once he sees a strange poison that he can't resolve, or a strange poison that he has never seen before, he will think of a way to get it no matter the cost. Yang Dingtian was delighted and said, that's great. We just happen to have two strange poisons that he has never seen or heard of before. If we battle with him in poison, we will definitely win, and we must win. Note, today's first update is here. Brothers, please enjoy. I will continue writing. Also, I'm here to ask for a few monthly tickets. Thank you, brothers. I'll leave it to you. Chapter 101. Master, where is this Poison Hand's devil, Ouyang Luan, staying now? Yang Dingtian asked. This person has enemies all over the world, and no one knows where he stays. Dongfang Minmi said, however, I happen to know. Furthermore, I saved his life once. Poison Hand's devil is so powerful, and yet someone killed him. Yang Dingtian asked. That person didn't kill him. He only tortured him to the point where he couldn't live or die. Dongfang Minmi said, he cut open all of Ouyang Luan's flesh and poured boiling lava into it. Then, he covered his body. After the lava solidified, it completely grew in his flesh. Furthermore, he cut open his blood vessels and poured in the blood of the fiery berserk snake before sewing his blood vessels back together. You will never be able to imagine that a person could be tortured like this. This is even more perverted than the cruelest torture in the world. Just one look at him and you will have nightmares for the rest of your life. Immediately, Yang Dingtian shuddered when he heard this. Poison Hand's devil was such a terrifying person, yet he was tortured so miserably. Master, who is this person? Why are his methods so evil and vicious? Yang Dingtian asked. This person is the Temple of 10,000 Bloods Temple Master, Dugu Shao, Dongfang Minmi said indifferently. Instantly, Yang Dingtian's body shuddered. Dugu Shao was so evil and vicious. No wonder he gave birth to a daughter like Dugu Fengwu. Ouyang Luan was originally a handsome man, but when I saw him, he no longer looked human. His entire body was swollen and deformed, crawling forward like a black maggot. Because the fire poison was torturing him, he wanted to crawl to the netherworld swamp to lessen the pain. However, he was still over 1,000 miles away from the netherworld swamp, and he wouldn't be able to crawl there even if he died. I saved his life and gave him an elixir before bringing him to the center of the netherworld swamp. After that, he was like a loach and lived in the swamp, Dongfang Minmi said. Then he lives in the center of the netherworld swamp? Yang Dingtian asked, how far is that place from the Cloud Heaven City? Yang Dingtian knew about the netherworld swamp. The entire swamp stretched for thousands of miles, and there were muddy ponds and puddles everywhere. Danger lurked everywhere. The sky above the swamp was densely covered with toxic smog. Even during the day, there wasn't a hint of sunlight. It was as dark and gloomy as the night. It was basically a forbidden zone for life. No one went there, not even animals or demonic beasts lived there. Only a monster like Poison Hand's devil could survive there. This place was more than 3,000 miles away from Cloud Sky City, at the end of the neutral zone's chaotic lands. Beyond the netherworld swamp was the domain of evil ways. Therefore, this netherworld swamp also became a natural dividing line. No one could take half a step across the lightning pool. If Yang Dingtian wanted to head to the Temple of Blood, he would have to pass through the netherworld swamp. Child, do you still want to go to the Temple of Blood? Dongfang Minmi asked. Yang Dingtian went to see Madame Shiman. Madam, I need a drop of Martial Uncle Shiman's blood. Yang Dingtian said. Madame Shiman was slightly startled before she nodded. Okay, I'll go get it now. Although she was a little surprised as to why Yang Dingtian wanted Shiman Wuya's blood, she didn't ask and just nodded. Immediately after, she got someone to escort her to Cloud Sky City to get a drop of Shiman Wuya's blood. Then, Yang Dingtian went to Ningning's room. Sister Ningning, let me see your deep-sea mystic poison, Yang Dingtian said. What's there to see? Ningning said with a red face. Yang Dingtian said seriously, let me see. Seeing Yang Dingtian's seriousness, Ningning rolled her eyes at him. Okay, but don't shout. Then, Ningning stood up with great effort and lifted her pants slightly. Ah! Although he was mentally prepared, Yang Dingtian still cried out in surprise. Her calves and most of her thighs were already a demonic green, like bamboo. This was the deep-sea mystic poison. Moreover, the deep-sea mystic poison was slowly rising. Once it rose to the Sea of Qi, the consequences would be unimaginable. Why didn't you tell me that the deep-sea mystic poison was still rising and spreading? Yang Dingtian said angrily. Ningning said gently, I'm sorry. It's my fault. How long more before it reaches the Sea of Qi? Yang Dingtian asked. About 10 days. Ningning said. Once it reaches the Sea of Qi, what will happen? Yang Dingtian asked. Shiman Ningning shook her head. He didn't know if it was because she didn't know or because she didn't want to say. Originally, Yang Dingtian was still a little hesitant about going to the Temple of Blood. Now, he didn't need to hesitate anymore. He had to go. Not only did he have to save Yan Yan, but he also had to save Shiman Ningning. Ningning, give me some blood with the deep-sea mystic poison, Yang Dingtian said. Okay. Ningning took out a white jade straw and was about to prick her leg to take the blood. Don't take the blood from your leg, Yang Dingtian hurriedly said. I want to give this to another man. After saying that, Yang Dingtian felt embarrassed. Was he that possessive? After Ningning heard that, her face turned red. She rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian and sat down. She sucked a small tube of green blood from the soles of her feet. After a little hesitation, she sucked another tube and placed it in a small ice jade box. She handed it to Yang Dingtian. Little Tian, can you tell me now what you want to do? Shiman Ningning asked. I want to go to the Temple of Blood and enter the blood pool to break through, Yang Dingtian said. Ningning was stunned. She revealed a horrified expression and said, Little Tian, are you crazy? No, I won't let you go. I definitely won't let you go. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. He just looked at her quietly, expressing his absolute will. Ningning's face was sorrowful as tears fell. The two of them fell into a deep silence. Ningning raised her head and looked at Yang Dingtian. Little Tian, you must go, right? No one can stop you, right? Yang Dingtian nodded solemnly. But the Temple of Blood is the most evil place in the world. Dugu Shao, that great devil, even foster father is afraid of him, Ningning said. Yang Dingtian said, I will first find Poison Hand's devil, Ouyang Luan. He once successfully entered the blood pool to cultivate. Moreover, he should have the myriad poison devil snake. You fool. Poison Hand's devil, that pervert, is also very dangerous, Ningning said. Yang Dingtian fell into silence again. I will go with you, Ningning said. Not this time. Yang Dingtian said, I know you have been closing your eyes to regulate your breathing recently, suppressing the restless deep-sea Xian poison. If you travel with me, your life will be in danger. Therefore, I must go alone this time. Must? Ningning asked with her eyes wide open. Must. Yang Dingtian said. Ningning fell into silence. She only lowered her head and shed tears, not saying a word. She took a deep breath as if she had made a decision. Then, she circulated her mystic qi and saw a snow-white mist seeping out from her fingertips. Then, something that made Yang Dingtian even more surprised happened. A pendant slowly took shape on her chest. A beautiful pendant hung from a snow-white chain. It was a transparent tear-shaped gemstone. It was sparkling and translucent, pure and moving, and emitted a mysterious aura. Ningning took the pendant off her neck and stared at it for a moment before putting it on Yang Dingtian's neck. Then, under Yang Dingtian's astonished gaze, the pendant gradually turned invisible and disappeared into the air. Little Tian, once your life is in danger, extend your hand to touch the pendant and circulate your mystic qi to make the tear-shaped pendant appear. This way, whether it is Poison Hand's devil or Temple of Blood Master Dugu Shao, they will most likely not kill you. Ningning said gently, however, you must only make it appear when your life is in danger. Otherwise, don't let anyone see it. Remember, anyone, including people we trust. Otherwise, it will bring us endless trouble. I'm afraid there won't be any place for the two of us to hide in this world. Yang Dingtian immediately gasped in astonishment. What exactly was this pendant to have such power? Instantly, Shiman Ningning's identity became even more mysterious in Yang Dingtian's eyes. Is this a teardrop? Yang Dingtian asked. Ningning nodded and said, this is a gemstone condensed from a teardrop. Once it appears, it will set off perilous waves in the world. Therefore, unless it is absolutely necessary, you must not let it appear. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, can I not wear it? This item must be very important to you. It's best that it doesn't leave your body. No, you must wear it. Otherwise, let me go with you. Shiman Ningning said gently but resolutely, you can return it to me after you return safely. You said that I will return the deep-sea Xian clothes to you after I successfully hunt for demon cores. However, I am still wearing it now, Yang Dingtian said. That's different. Ningning said, I don't fight. The deep-sea Xian clothes are useless to me. Then, Ningning raised her voice and said, Little Tian, remember, once your life is in danger, you must make the tear-shaped pendant appear. I know that you will definitely say that you would rather die than use it. Let me tell you, if you die, regardless of whether this tear-shaped pendant appears or not, this world will be turned upside down. Do you understand? When your life is in danger, you must use it. Don't let big sister worry about you. Yang Dingtian nodded solemnly and said, I understand. 4 hours later, Madame Shimen returned with a vial of Shimen Wuya's blood. Yang Dingtian told Madame Shimen and Shimen lie about his intentions. The two immediately tried to stop him, but Yang Dingtian was very firm. In the end, under Shimen Ningning's persuasion, the two reluctantly allowed Yang Dingtian to go find Poison Hand's devil. However, they were still very worried. With Ningning's superb skills, Yang Dingtian disguised himself as a robust man. He did not resemble Yang Dingtian at all. Then, he put on the Black Blood Cavalry's armor and mixed in with the troops, leaving Black Blood Castle. Under the protection of 10 great mystic martial master Black Blood Cavalry brothers, Yang Dingtian rode towards the Netherworld Swamp, towards the Temple of 10,000 Blood. This trip might really be a dead end with 9 deaths and 1 life. Chapter 102. 200 miles north of Cloud Sky City was the Land of Chaos. The Land of Chaos spanned nearly 3,000 miles and was a neutral zone between the Tiando League and the Evil Ways. There were many neutral zones like this, but the Land of Chaos was one of the bigger ones. The Land of Chaos didn't belong to any faction. There were no laws and no one cared about killing or robbing. Everything depended on the weapons in their hands. Every day, there would be blood and innocent lives would be lost. In comparison, whether it was Cloud Sky City's territory or the Northwest Qin family's territory, it was peaceful and could be called a paradise. Therefore, warriors with low cultivations could only walk around the territories of famous sections. Although they had to pay taxes and were not very free, at least they didn't have to worry about their lives. The next afternoon, Yang Dingtian had already traveled 200 miles. This was a castle at the edge of Cloud Sky City in the northeast. Of course, this castle was much smaller than the Black Blood Castle or even the Abyss Castle. It only had 200 warriors. As long as he walked out of this stone door, he would lose the protection of order and enter a barbaric environment where the strong preyed on the weak. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and galloped his horse towards the northeast. The reason why he chose to ride a horse instead of a flying beast was because flying beasts could only fly within Cloud Sky City's territory. Once they left the territory, they would be shot down immediately. At this moment, Yang Dingtian wore a human skin mask and turned into an ordinary youth with a hint of delicateness. Even his weapon was decorated and the clothes he wore could be considered expensive. In addition, there were close to 10 great mystic martial masters and Black Blood Cavalry experts. In the Land of Chaos, ordinary factions wouldn't dare to provoke them. After galloping for more than an hour, Yang Dingtian traveled another 100 miles. At this moment, the color of the ground had slowly turned from blood red to light red. This area was indeed a lawless zone. Along the way, Yang Dingtian saw at least a dozen fights. Nearly half of them resulted in deaths. In just a little over an hour, he saw more than a dozen people die. When passers-by saw it, they ignored it. This Land of Chaos was indeed lawless, dangerous, and chaotic. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't meddle in other people's business. This was because it was very difficult to distinguish between right and wrong in these fights. Basically, both sides were not good people. Moreover, time was of the essence, and he did not have the time to care about it. There was a river in front of them. It was about 30 meters wide and there was a wooden bridge over it. Everyone who crosses the bridge will be charged 1 silver coin. If you have a mount, you will be charged an additional 2 coins. Dozens of fierce-looking muscular men stood at the head of the bridge, holding weapons in their hands as they passed through the crowd. Of course, they weren't the ones who built the bridge. They were just taking the opportunity to amass wealth. One of Yang Dingtian's bodyguards immediately drew his sword and wanted to kill this group of people. After all, with their current strength, killing these people would be a piece of cake. Yang Dingtian waved his hand to stop him. He then tossed a gold coin over. However, his eyes revealed a warning light. If the other party continued to cause trouble, Yang Dingtian wouldn't mind starting a massacre. As expected, those hooligans didn't dare to act rashly. Yang Dingtian led his 10 Black Blood Cavalry brothers and charged across the bridge. However, what made him not know whether to laugh or cry was that after crossing the bridge, someone had set up a checkpoint at the end of the bridge. Everyone who crosses the bridge will be charged 1 silver coin. If you have a mount, you will be charged an additional 2 coins. The leader of the hooligans who set up the checkpoint at the end of the bridge waved the steel sword in his hand. However, this time, he was a wretched skinny youth. This was too arrogant. A short wooden bridge of 10 zhang actually wanted to charge 2 tolls. To be honest, such a wooden bridge could be built with more than 10 silver coins. Yang Dingtian frowned and tossed another gold coin over. 1 gold coin was equivalent to 100 silver coins. In fact, it was slightly more. The wretched youth's eyes suddenly lit up. He thought that he had encountered a big fat sheep that was afraid of trouble. Oh, I misspoke. The toll is 1 gold coin per person. If you have a mount, you will be charged an additional 2 gold coins. The wretched youth smiled treacherously. His eyes revealed a trace of ominous light. It was obvious that he was planning to murder for money. You are courting death. Yang Dingtian's eyes suddenly turned cold. He directly pulled out his sword and slashed down. You dare. I am a member of the crocodile gang. Ah! Before he could finish his words, blood splattered everywhere. The wretched youth's head was directly chopped off. The surrounding hooligans were instantly stunned. Without waiting for Yang Dingtian's order, the 10 experts of the Black Blood Cavalry directly divided into 2 groups and killed all the hooligans at the head of the bridge and the end of the bridge. After killing, Yang Dingtian led the 10 Black Blood Cavalry and quickly left. Of course, no one would care about it. After that, Yang Dingtian kept galloping on his horse. By the time the sky turned dark, he had already traveled more than 400 li. In the short 300 li, Yang Dingtian had already paid the toll 8 times. He had been extorted 4 times and was targeted by 4 or 5 groups of people who wanted to kill him for money. Therefore, even though Yang Dingtian was unwilling, he still killed 3 people. He finally understood that in the chaotic lands, unless one's martial arts were extremely high, it was impossible not to kill. If you didn't kill, you would be killed. From morning to night, they had traveled a total of 700 li. Although this speed was fast enough, it still wasn't enough. Therefore, they couldn't rest at night and still had to rush on. In front of them was a town called Black Wind Town. The town wasn't big. It had a small auction house, a few inns, a few restaurants, 2 or 3 carriage shops, and 2 brothels for warriors to eat and rest. Yang Dingtian wanted to rest for a short while, eat a meal, change horses, and rush on through the night. Entering a restaurant, it was already crowded with people. Yang Dingtian and his 10 brothers found a remote place to sit down. They ordered ordinary food and a few bottles of strong wine. Although they didn't taste good, at least they weren't poisonous. There were many people here, and many people spoke in various languages. Some were shouting loudly, some were drinking games. In short, the hall was noisy. Moreover, this group of people hadn't bathed for a long time. In short, the air was filled with an unpleasant stench. Have you heard? That trash from Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian. He's awesome. Suddenly, someone beside Yang Dingtian said loudly to his deskmate. That lunatic? The one who practiced the pig-slaying swordsmanship and is still an enlightener at the age of 20, someone asked. Your news is outdated. He's not an enlightener anymore. He's now a mystic martial artist, that person said. Just 2 days ago, he fought with Cloud Sky City's Tang Li in public and won. Isn't that awesome? He's a salted fish that has turned over. At this time, a one-eyed man snorted. What do you know? Do you really think Yang Dingtian broke through to mystic martial artist by relying on his talent? Relying on normal means to break through more than 10 levels in 5 days? Dream on. Do you know what he used to break through? Instantly, Yang Dingtian's ears perked up. The 10 brothers of the Black Blood Cavalry also perked up their ears. Some of them even put their hands on the weapons at their waists. He relied on an evil technique. He relied on absorbing a woman's mystic chi to break through, that one-eyed man said evilly. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was furious. He didn't expect the rumor to spread so quickly. In just a few days, it had already spread to the chaotic lands. Without a doubt, this was Qin Xiaobai's doing. This one-eyed man in front of him was one of the many people who received money to spread the rumor. Do you know which woman's mystic chi he absorbed? The one-eyed man asked. Who? Everyone's eyes widened. Madame Shimen. The one-eyed man said evilly. Instantly, everyone breathed heavily and said, damn, this Madame Shimen was the #1 beauty in the Northwest continent. This Yang Dingtian is really lucky. Instantly, the Black Blood Cavalry brothers' eyes turned cold. They were about to draw their weapons and kill someone. Yang Dingtian stopped them with his gaze. There were many people spreading such rumors. He couldn't kill all of them. After 8 days, as long as he defeated Qin Xiaobai, the rumor would collapse and Madame Shimen's reputation would be restored. After that, Yang Dingtian focused on eating. He didn't care about these rumors. After all, they were all unbearable words. At this moment, the noisy dining hall suddenly became silent. Instantly, it became so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Not only did everyone stop talking, they also stopped eating. Clang, 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 immediately after, there was the sound of bowls and chopsticks falling to the ground. It was as if someone was so shocked that they couldn't even hold the bowls and chopsticks in their hands. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but raise his head. He saw that everyone was looking in the same direction. Yang Dingtian followed their gazes. Instantly, all the hair on his body stood on end. All the pores on his body shrunk, and cold sweat burst out. The person who came in was a woman. She was wearing a veil and a tight black dress. From head to toe, only his eyes were exposed. Even his hands were covered in black gloves. This pair of eyes was captivating and extremely beautiful. Being looked at by this pair of eyes, it was as if one was going to lose their soul. Furthermore, her figure was filled with a devilish charm. It was like the undulating mountains and rivers. It completely explained the meaning of devilish curves. Just a pair of eyes was enough to make everyone in the dining hall lose their souls. They couldn't even hold the bowls and chopsticks in their hands. Only Yang Dingtian's heart was beating violently, and his body instantly turned cold. This woman was the demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu. The Dugu Fengwu who killed people like scything flax. The genius demonic woman of evil ways. The daughter of the great demonic king, Dugu Shao. He didn't expect that she would actually appear here. Yang Dingtian immediately lowered his head to eat and drink. He could only silently hope that he was wearing a mask and wouldn't be recognized by her. After all, she once said that the next time she met Yang Dingtian, she would tear him into pieces. Yang Dingtian didn't dare to not take the demonic woman's words seriously. When things didn't go as planned, Yang Dingtian didn't want her to notice him. However, this demonic woman actually noticed him. Dugu Fengwu's captivating eyes actually landed on Yang Dingtian's face. After that, she stared at Yang Dingtian's face. In an instant, Yang Dingtian felt as if he was going to suffocate. This demonic woman was someone who would kill without batting an eyelid. If she really recognized him, she would definitely slash him down with her sword. Motherfucker. I have lived for half my life and have never seen such a woman. If I were to fuck her once, I wouldn't die in vain. At this moment, the one-eyed man who spread rumors about Yang Dingtian was panting and trembling. In an instant, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but look at him as if he was looking at an idiot. This guy must be tired of living. He actually dared to blaspheme this demonic woman. Was he afraid that he wouldn't die quickly enough? As expected, the demonic woman's gaze left Yang Dingtian and landed on the one-eyed man's face. Yang Dingtian's heart relaxed. He then waited for the demonic woman to start her massacre. He only hoped that she wouldn't implicate him. However, to Yang Dingtian's surprise, the demonic woman only frowned slightly. She then said indifferently, "I want the best private room." Okay, please go upstairs." The waiter of the restaurant couldn't even speak properly. He quickly led the way. After that, the demonic woman directly walked up the stairs. Yang Dingtian let out a long sigh of relief. All the other men's breathing instantly became heavy. Their eyes were burning with passion. When the demonic woman walked up the stairs, that incomparably moving back view was enough to destroy any man's rationality. "No, I must get my hands on her." That one-eyed man panted and said, "Otherwise, I would have lived my life in vain. Even if I die immediately, I must die under this Mudan flower. This idiot is dead meat." Yang Dingtian sneered in his heart. "Hurry up and eat. We'll be on our way after eating." Yang Dingtian didn't want to stay in this restaurant for a second longer with the demonic woman in it. This was because once the demonic woman started killing, she didn't like to kill one by one. Instead, she liked to kill in groups. In other words, she would kill everyone in her sight. A few minutes later, Yang Dingtian and his 10 brothers quickly finished eating. They immediately rode on their horses and set off. They didn't even have time to change horses. Wherever the demonic woman was, it was better to stay as far away as possible. Yang Dingtian wouldn't be surprised if the demonic woman killed everyone in the town in a fit of rage. After running for nearly 100 miles, Yang Dingtian's heart finally relaxed a little. Moreover, the horse under him was so tired that it was about to lose its strength. They would definitely have to change horses in the next town. Because the horse was exhausted, Yang Dingtian and his group's speed was much slower. Furthermore, there was no town, so Yang Dingtian could not change horses. This demoness can't be rushing back to the Temple of Blood, right? Please don't. Yang Dingtian prayed in his heart. With the demoness in the Temple of 10,000 Blood, not only would Yang Dingtian not be able to enter the 10,000 blood pool to cultivate, he would also lose his life. The fringe was much quieter at night. Perhaps it was even more sinister, but it was all covered by the darkness, making it hard to see. But along the way, they basically didn't meet anyone. In the dark night, the sound of Yang Dingtian's horse hooves was particularly clear. Da-da-da, suddenly, the sound of hooves came from behind Yang Dingtian. It was much faster than Yang Dingtian and the others. He couldn't help but turn around to take a look, and he was scared out of his wits. It was actually that demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu. She had actually caught up. Yang Dingtian instinctively reached for his artifact sword, but he quickly put it down. What was the point of drawing his sword in front of a demonic woman? Dugu Fengwu's speed was very fast, and she caught up to Yang Dingtian in the blink of an eye. Her soul-sucking eyes were staring at Yang Dingtian. Could she have recognized him? If that was the case, then he was truly in a dead end. But immediately after, the demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu, said something that made Yang Dingtian completely astonished. "Mister, quickly save me. There are people chasing after me, and they want to molest me." Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes were filled with panic as she pleaded to Yang Dingtian with a trembling voice. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but exclaim, "What kind of trick is this demonic woman playing?" Immediately after, he saw over a dozen men chasing after them frantically. The leader was that one-eyed man who spread rumors about Yang Dingtian. His remaining eye shot out an evil and fiery gaze. Great beauty, don't run. Follow me, and I will definitely let you live a good life. At this moment, Dugu Fengwu was even more terrified as she pleaded to young Ding Tian, "This big brother, I beg you. Save me, save me. Note, I am begging for a few monthly votes. Thank you, everyone." Chapter 104. Yang Dingtian's brain was about to short-circuit. What was this demonic woman, Dugu Fengwu, acting? She called him big brother and even cried for help. She was chased by over a dozen ruffians and was almost defiled. Where was the demeanor of a demonic woman? These ruffians shouldn't even be enough to kill her little finger. Could it be that this woman wasn't Dugu Fengwu? But her eyes, her figure, and her voice were exactly the same. Dugu Fengwu's voice, eyes, and figure left a deep and indelible impression in Yang Dingtian's mind. Because no matter which one it was, this demonic woman was unmatched. Of course, there was also the heart of a snake and scorpion. This demonic woman was also unmatched. At this moment, the ruffians had already caught up and surrounded Dugu Fengwu. "Hee hee. Beauty, I have chased you for over 100 miles. Let's see where you can run to now." The one-eyed man's eyes shot out an evil light as he looked at Dugu Fengwu's devilish figure. His breathing was so heavy that it sounded like bellows as he said, "Since you appeared in front of me, I will never be able to forgive myself for the rest of my life if I let you slip away." The one-eyed man continued, "However, I'm very self-aware. It's already a blessing for me to be able to possess a peerless beauty like you once. If I were to attempt to possess you for a long time, with my current strength, only death would await me. I guarantee that in less than 3 days, someone will come to kill me and snatch you away. Therefore, after everything is over, I will definitely dismember your corpse into 10,000 pieces. This way, no one will know." Once this statement was out, Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes instantly revealed an inconsolable expression. She then quietly hid behind Yang Dingtian. After the one-eyed man finished speaking, he immediately rushed forward and extended his hand to grab Dugu Fengwu. "Big brother, save me, save me." Dugu Fengwu hid behind Yang Dingtian. Her devilish figure was shivering as she grabbed onto Yang Dingtian's sleeve and pleaded with all her might. The one-eyed man sneered and looked at Yang Dingtian. "Friend, I don't want to be a busybody. Obediently send the beauty over. Although you won't be able to get a share when I sleep with Sleeping Beauty, you can watch from the side. With such a peerless beauty, it's worth it even if you lose a year of your life just to take a look." Yang Dingtian was now completely confused. Could this woman really not be Dugu Fengwu? Or was the demoness putting on an act to torment me? Dugu Fengwu was so formidable, so how could she be humiliated by these hooligans? Moreover, she was a demoness. She was indeed capable of doing anything. Just as Yang Dingtian was puzzled, that one-eyed man grabbed Dugu Fengwu, who was hiding behind Yang Dingtian, and threw her to the ground. That peerless woman groaned in pain, then crawled on the ground with all her might to escape. The one-eyed man pounced on the woman and stretched out his hand, wanting to tear her clothes apart. "Big brother, save me." This woman immediately let out a hoarse cry for help. She looked at Yang Dingtian with eyes that were filled with pleading and despair. "Do it." Yang Dingtian ordered and pulled out his sharp sword. It didn't matter if Dugu Fengwu was the demoness putting on an act, Yang Dingtian couldn't be bothered anymore. If the woman in front of him wasn't Dugu Fengwu and was sullied by this one-eyed man, then Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to forgive himself for the rest of his life. That one-eyed man was shocked. His expression turned sinister as he said, "There really is a hero who isn't afraid of death when saving a beauty." Finishing his statement, he pulled out a ghost head saber and slashed at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's sword slashed down. Dang! That one-eyed man's ghost head saber suddenly broke into two and flew out. Yang Dingtian's sword was still wet as it slashed that one-eyed man into 2 halves. There was a miserable howl as fresh blood spurted out. In fact, This one-eyed man had the strength of a 5-star mystic martial artist, but he was still instantly killed by Yang Dingtian. At the same time, the remaining 10 Black Blood Cavalry brothers pulled out their sharp swords and rushed towards the remaining villains with lightning speed. In just a few seconds, the dozen or so villains were all killed, and not a single one escaped. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian dismounted from his horse and walked to that mysterious woman. He reached out his hand. Although this woman's face was still covered, her beautiful eyes were filled with lingering fear. Her entire body was trembling, and a rich woman's fragrance assaulted Jiang Yi's senses. This fragrance was exactly the same as that of the demoness Dugu Fengwu. Yang Dingtian's hair stood on end. Could Dugu Fengwu really be putting on an act? After that, Yang Dingtian looked at this woman on the ground with an extremely nervous expression. She reached out her small hand and grabbed onto Yang Dingtian's hand, but her beautiful eyes were still filled with concern. It was as though she was afraid that Yang Dingtian would also unleash his bestial nature. Yang Dingtian exerted a bit of strength and pulled her up from the ground. He then acted as though nothing had happened and said, "Young lady, everything is fine now. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. I still have to hurry on with my journey." After that, Yang Dingtian mounted his horse and was about to leave with his brothers. It didn't matter if she was Dugu Fengwu or not, the further away they were, the better. This demoness was truly too terrifying, and she was absolutely terrifying. That woman was slightly stunned at first, but when she saw that Yang Dingtian didn't seem to be molesting her, her beautiful eyes relaxed a little. She then spoke with an anxious voice, "Mister, it is not safe for me to travel alone at night. Can I follow you for a while? Can you send me to the next town? I will wait there for my companions to find me." Yang Dingtian's scalp instantly went numb. He really didn't want to agree. I beg you," that woman said with a trembling voice, "otherwise, if a few more of these scoundrels come, I will really be in a life worse than death." Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, "All right, but make it clear. We will only send you to the next town." "All right, thank you, mister," that woman said. She then came to the front of her mount and stretched out her long legs, wanting to step on the saddle. However, she couldn't do such a simple action. She couldn't lift her legs up no matter how hard she tried. "Mister, you come and help me. My entire body is soft, and I can't get on the horse." Yang Dingtian went forward and clamped her small waist, carrying her onto the saddle. After that, Yang Dingtian carried her and continued on their journey, galloping towards the north. The distance to the next town seemed to be really far. Yang Dingtian ran for a total of 3 hours and over 200 miles, but he still didn't see the shadow of a town. After running for another 3 hours, the sky was already bright, but there was still no sign of a town. However, in these few hours, Yang Dingtian was completely sure that this woman wasn't Dugu Fengwu. Because whether it was her speech, temperament, or expression, she was just like a child who had never seen the world. Her words were filled with naivety and sorrow. She really was like a pure and innocent child. Perhaps her figure was the same, and her body fragrance was the same, but her temperament was completely different. "You don't have any martial arts, so why do you dare to run around the chaotic lands alone? This is the most chaotic and dangerous place in the world," Yang Dingtian said. The woman was silent for a moment before saying, "This is my first time out, and I don't know anything about the outside world. Originally, there were a dozen people following me to protect me, but last night, a dozen very powerful people suddenly intercepted them and started to kill them. My guards kept those enemies busy while I ran for my life, saying that they would catch up to me in a while. Thus, I rode my horse and ran as fast as I could. When I reached the town, I thought that I would be safe. But who knew that not long after I fell asleep, the inn's waiter suddenly ran to me and told me to run quickly. He said that a dozen bad guys were going to molest and defile me. Thus, I ran quickly. Then, this group of bad guys caught up to me. Then, I was saved by you. Then, the woman looked at Yang Dingtian and said seriously, otherwise, even if I died, it would be a filthy death. After I die, I will also sink into the 18 layers of hell. You're welcome. Yang Dingtian said. Young master, there is a town ahead. Suddenly, one of the Black Blood Cavalry brothers in front said. Yang Dingtian raised his head and looked. Indeed, there was a town a few miles ahead. Miss, we will part ways in the town in a while. Find a safe place and wait for your companions to find you. Yang Dingtian said. That woman's beautiful eyes didn't have much joy. Instead, she seemed a little disappointed and nodded. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment and finally asked, then, what is your name? That woman's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of shyness as she said, you can call me Shuang, Yang Dingtian originally wanted to ask her about her relationship with Dugu Fengwu, but he didn't. Because once he asked, it might bring about great danger in the future. At this moment, there was a small river in front. The river water was so clear that the bottom could be seen. That Shuang cheered and ran over. Yang Dingtian knitted his brows slightly and followed after her. The situation here was complicated, and there might be danger at any moment. She was a weak woman who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken and couldn't go too far. The Black Blood Cavalry brothers were guarding the entrance firmly. After walking for over 100 meters, Yang Dingtian saw Shuang's back view under a remote bridge. It seemed like being under the bridge gave her a sense of security. When he was over 10 meters away from her, Yang Dingtian stopped. In front, Shuang was already squatting by the river and seemed to be washing her face and drinking water. She took off her veil first, then took off a mask. It was this mask that made Yang Dingtian's body tremble. Dugu Fengwu also had such a mask. But immediately after, he noticed that this mask was different from Dugu Fengwu's. This was a silver mask, while Dugu Fengwu's mask was golden. After taking off the mask, Shuang stared at the water surface as though she was looking at her own reflection. She didn't move for a long time and seemed to be completely intoxicated by her own beauty. Yang Dingtian was curious if her face was exactly the same as Dugu Fengwu's. But she should be intoxicated. Everyone in the world would be intoxicated by such a breathtaking beauty. After staring at herself in the water for a moment, Shuang started to lay down and used her small mouth to touch the river water. Suddenly, Shuang asked, Mister, what do you think I look like? Yang Dingtian replied, you should be the most beautiful woman in the world. Shuang continued, you saved my life and talked to me so much along the way. Do you know? You are the person who has talked to me the most in my life. Now, do you want to see my face and see how I look like? Yes. Yang Dingtian wanted to see if Shuang's face was exactly the same as Dugu Fengwu's. Shuang stayed silent for a moment before she slowly turned around and openly revealed her face. When Yang Dingtian saw this face, his body instantly shivered, and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief and astonishment. It wasn't because she was too beautiful or because she looked the same as Dugu Fengwu. On the contrary, it was a very strange and even frightening face. This face had an extremely perfect outline. Be it the eyes, nose, mouth, or the entire shape of the face, they were all perfect. Furthermore, it was exactly the same as Dugu Fengwu's. However, the skin on her face was filled with scales. The scales were fine and blue with a tinge of purple. Her entire face was covered with scales, all the way to her neck. In short, everywhere that could be seen was covered with scales. These scales looked like the scales of a mermaid, but they also looked like the scales of a snake. Seeing Yang Dingtian's astonished expression, Shuang smiled bitterly and said, indeed, this is the same expression. Everyone has this expression when they see me. My father, my maidservant, my servant. Everyone looks as though they have seen a ghost when they see me. Instantly, Shuang let out a despairing laugh and mocked, actually, Mr. didn't have to save me just now. That scoundrel only had to tear open my clothes and see my appearance. He would definitely be scared out of his wits and run as far as he could. He would never want to touch me again. Because every inch of my body is covered with these scales. I knew it. Everyone is afraid of me and hates me. Everyone calls me a hag. As she spoke, Shuang's tears fell. Her face and her beautiful eyes were filled with despair. Do you know why I never went out before? Because I was afraid that others would look at me as if they had seen a ghost. Not only did I frighten the people at home, I also frightened the people outside. Shuang said sadly. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's heart was instantly filled with boundless sympathy and pity. He fixed his gaze on her face and spoke with a gentle voice, "Young lady Shuang, my astonished gaze earlier wasn't because I was frightened by you. It was because I felt that the heavens were too unfair to you. He gave you the most beautiful eyes, the most moving figure, and the most beautiful voice. But he used a layer of scales to cover your most moving beauty. You don't need to comfort me. You were just frightened by me." Shuang said sadly. "No, your appearance may scare others, but it won't scare me." Yang Dingtian said, "To tell you the truth, you may not believe it. With your appearance, I even feel that there is a different kind of taste. I feel that it is very, very tempting." Yang Dingtian didn't lie. He really felt that way. He really didn't feel that it was scary. Instead, there was a special kind of taste. "But, my whole body is covered with scales like this," Shuang said, and then directly took off her cloak and skirt. Sure enough, her whole body was covered with dense scales. It looked like a snake's, but also not. It seemed to be purple, but also seemed to be green. Yang Dingtian thought of a movie on Earth, X-Men. The shape-shifting woman in the movie was also covered with scales. The Shuang in front of him and the shape-shifting woman were really similar. However, compared to the shape-shifting woman, whether it was the figure, the outline of the face, or the pair of eyes, Shuang was much more beautiful and moving. Yang Dingtian didn't know how many hardcore movies he had seen on Earth, so when he saw the shape-shifting woman, he didn't feel very scared. Instead, he felt that it was quite sexy. Therefore, the moment he saw her, Yang Dingtian's eyes suddenly lit up. He was just curious, not disgusted. Seeing Yang Dingtian's gaze, Shuang suddenly showed a trace of surprise, and her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. "Are you really not afraid of me? Are you disgusted by my appearance?" Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Really? But Miss Shuang, you should wear it properly. You are too moving." Suddenly, Shuang recovered her shyness. Her beautiful eyes looked at Yang Dingtian with a different kind of taste. She said softly, "You are the first person who is not afraid of me. I am really happy." Yang Dingtian smiled slightly and didn't say anything. "I have never left home before. Do you know why I came out this time?" Shuang said, and then put on her dress and cloak, covering her whole body tightly. Yang Dingtian shook his head. "Because I'm about to die, I won't be able to live for long. I don't want to die without seeing the outside world." Shuang said softly, "Being able to see you this time is already enough for me." Yang Dingtian was stunned and said in surprise, "Why?" "Because there is a kind of poison in my body that no one can cure." Shuang said, "However, I am not afraid of death at all. Instead, I feel that it is a kind of relief. Because I have no xian qi, and I look so strange. I'd rather be dead than alive." "You are talking nonsense." Yang Dingtian said loudly, "You have a lot of meaning in life. You can draw, you can sing, you can write stories, you can sculpt. Who knows how many things you can do. Sing." Shuang's beautiful eyes lit up. You can sing?" Yang Dingtian was stunned, and then nodded. "Then sing for me. Just once, okay?" Shuang said. "Okay." Yang Dingtian hesitated a little, and then nodded. Singing was a very awkward and pretentious act, but he couldn't refuse at this time. Shuang ran to Yang Dingtian's side and sat on the grass. Yang Dingtian dismounted and also sat on the grass. The horse casually squatted down and leisurely ate the grass. Yang Dingtian thought for a while, looked at the pitiful girl who was about to die, and sang, pinching a smiling flower, thinking about the changes in the world in the end. What does it matter if you win or lose? The sun and the moon grow and fade, wealth and nobility cannot last long. This morning's appearance is older than last night. The space between the eyebrows is wider. Looking at the scenery of the world, who doesn't taste sorrow and joy? The sea can't be finished. He sang, too, forgetting each other, from earth. He felt that this song was very beautiful, and his singing was not bad. Although, this was a song sung by a woman. But because of the feelings in his heart, Yang Dingtian sang really well at this time, and it was very pleasant to listen to. Shuang listened very carefully, liked it very much, and was even a little fascinated. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't sing so well. She was fascinated that someone was singing for her. As Yang Dingtian sang, Shuang sat next to him, quietly listening. Then she slightly tilted her head and gently leaned on Yang Dingtian's shoulder. The posture was somewhat intimate, but it was very natural, without the slightest hint of awkwardness. The space between the eyebrows is wider. Looking at the scenery of the world, who doesn't taste sorrow and joy? The sea can't be finished. Gratitude and grudges are hard to calculate. Yesterday should not be forgotten. Today the waves surge, the people are insignificant, the birds of youth fly away. Even if the ancient wind roams in the wind. Yang Dingtian was still singing, and the more he sang, the better he got. Shuang listened very seriously, very intoxicated. On the other side of the river, the sound of hurried horse hooves could be heard. Some gloomy experts wearing black cloaks, riding huge warhorses, were like a gust of wind, stepping on the river, swift and fierce. The leader of the group was a tall woman with a cold gaze. These some people all had very high cultivations, and each of them had a bloodthirsty aura, and each of them had a chilling gaze. A blood-red bat was embroidered on each of their cloaks. Yang Dingtian was still singing, as if he didn't see this group of people coming. The sea can't be finished. Gratitude and grudges are hard to calculate. Yesterday should not be forgotten. Today, these some people arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye, and at this time, Yang Dingtian had officially finished singing. The gloomy woman in the lead suddenly reached out, grabbed Shuang's arm, and directly lifted her onto the horse in front of her. Then, she suddenly pulled out a sinister sword, and was about to chop off Yang Dingtian's head. Not far away, some Black Blood Cavalry brothers were crazily rushing over. Black Phoenix, if you kill him, I will die. Shuang said quietly. The woman called Black Phoenix coldly stared at Yang Dingtian for a while, then suddenly turned her horse around and galloped away. Suddenly, the some black-cloaked experts left on the river like the wind. Brother, what's your name? Suddenly, Shuang who was being taken away, shouted loudly. Yan Nantian. Yang Dingtian shouted. I will remember you until I die, Shuang shouted. Don't die, live well, Yang Dingtian shouted. Then, the dozen black-cloaked knights disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. After arriving at the town, Yang Dingtian changed horses, and then madly rushed without rest, covering more than 1,000 miles in a day. 30 hours later, he arrived at the edge of the Netherworld swamp. All of you, wait here for my return, Yang Dingtian said to the 10 Black Blood Cavalry brothers. Yes. The 10 Black Blood Cavalry brothers replied in unison. This was something Yang Dingtian had decided long ago, because there were no people or demonic beasts in the Netherworld swamp. As for Poison Hand's devil, it was useless to bring the Black Blood Cavalry brothers in. Yang Dingtian dismounted. In front of him was the Netherworld swamp, 1,000 miles of no man's land. There was a clear boundary between the Netherworld swamp and the land. On this side was the hard and flat land, and on the other side was the gloomy and putrid rotten water swamp. At a glance, it was as if there were two different worlds. The entire swamp was shrouded in a gloomy fog and a putrid smell. Yang Dingtian swallowed an elixir, took a deep breath, and stepped into the swamp. He was very careful, because there were quagmires everywhere. However, Yang Dingtian had already swallowed a special elixir and a water-repelling pearl, so there was no danger. He only needed to be careful. 1 hour. 2 hours. 3 hours. 5 hours. Yang Dingtian carefully walked into the depths of the swamp. The whole world was deathly silent, and only the sound of Yang Dingtian stepping into the mud could be heard. It was as if Yang Dingtian was the only person in the whole world. This kind of loneliness, after a long time, would definitely drive one crazy. At this time, the sky was already dark. However, the visibility was better than during the day, because the water above the quagmires emitted a faint green light. Although it was very disgusting, it did bring some light. Moreover, there were green will-o'-the-wisps on the water's surface. Yang Dingtian used these green lights and will-o'-the-wisps to continue deeper. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian arrived at the deepest part of the netherworld swamp. Immediately, Yang Dingtian smelled a nauseating smell. It was the smell of death and evil, a smell that made one tremble in fear. Yang Dingtian knew. He was about to arrive at Poison Hand's Devil's Cave. The results of the monthly votes made my mood extremely low today, but so what, I still have to work harder to write. Chapter 105. Actually, I'm already powerless to shout these words. He had arrived at Poison Hand's Devil's Cave. In front of him was an incomparably large quagmire. The reason Yang Dingtian recognized this as Poison Hand's Devil's Cave was because of the countless corpses floating above it. Most of them were human corpses, and occasionally demon beast corpses. Every single one of them had rotted away, giving off a nauseating stench. The blood on the corpses mixed with the muddy water, turning them a sickly green. It was obvious that Poison Hand's devil hadn't forgotten his evil research even after living in seclusion in the swamp. As for these corpses, who knew how many people died in the bedlam every day? Poison Hand's devil could use money, medicine, or even poison to trade for them. However, this Poison Hand's devil, Ouyang Luan, was indeed an incomparably evil person. However, apart from the corpses floating above the huge cave, the rest was disgusting mud. Ouyang Luan's figure was nowhere to be seen. He should have been living under the mud for a long time. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian arrived in front of the huge cave and slowly said, "Dongfang Minmi's successor pays respect to senior devil corpse." Suddenly, the entire swamp fell into silence. There was no response. And in front of Yang Dingtian was just an ordinary quagmire. It didn't look like a place of seclusion at all. It was as if the transaction just now was just a dream. Yang Dingtian said again, "Dongfang Minmi's successor pays respect to senior devil corpse. I don't care who Dongfang Minmi is. Since you've entered my territory, you can die. It just so happens that my experiment is still lacking a heart and a kidney," Poison Hand's devil said slowly. Immediately after, there was a loud noise. A giant rushed out of the pool, emitting a rotten stench, and rushed towards Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian almost vomited when he saw the giant's appearance. Yang Dingtian had never seen such a disgusting creature. This giant couldn't be called a human at all. It was just a walking corpse. The giant's legs were pieced together from 3 or 4 people's broken legs. The giant's body was also pieced together from 3 or 4 people's bodies. The giant only had one head, but it had been enlarged by the bubbles. There were wounds all over the giant's body. Disgusting pus was flowing everywhere. There was even a huge wound on its stomach. Part of its intestines had spilled out from the wound. It was so green that it was almost rotten. This was not a person at all, but an evil creature that was pieced together from many corpses. What was even more disgusting was that the giant had 3 hands, one on each of its shoulders, and one on its back. 3 hands, each holding a different weapon. There was a huge hammer, a sharp iron chain, and a huge kitchen knife. Tear people apart. Following Poison Hand's devil's order, the giant corpse fiercely rushed forward and attacked Yang Dingtian with the weapons in its 3 hands. It completely ignored the fact that Yang Dingtian was Dongfang Minmi's successor, and that he was indebted to Dongfang Nimi for saving his life. Before the fight even started, Yang Dingtian almost fainted from the stench. He held his breath, drew his weapon, and met the giant corpse's hammer. The hammer weighed several hundred kilograms. When it smashed down, it was as if Mount Tai was pressing down. It whistled through the air, wanting to smash Yang Dingtian into pieces. Bang! Yang Dingtian's ice blade blocked the giant corpse's hammer. Suddenly, an incomparably huge force was transmitted. Yang Dingtian instantly lost all feeling in his hands. His entire body felt like it was being crushed by a tank. He felt the tendons in his arms rupture inch by inch. Blood spurted out as his body flew dozens of meters away. The giant's moves were not profound, nor was it agile. However, its strength was astonishing. It was far, far beyond Yang Dingtian's imagination. My giant corpse's hammer has the force of 10,000 kilograms. You actually dared to block it with your mere body. You're courting death. Poison Hand's devil sneered. After spitting out another mouthful of blood, Yang Dingtian's mind cleared a little and he sat up. You're actually not dead. You actually survived my giant corpse's hammer. Poison Hand's devil exclaimed. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already died. However, Yang Dingtian had the 9 yang profound veins. Moreover, Dongfang Minmi had cleansed his meridians to the 3rd layer. He had a terrifying resistance and recovery ability. After standing up again, Yang Dingtian took a medicinal pill. The pain in his body gradually subsided. The tearing pain seemed to be dispelled inch by a cool breeze. As expected of a Tier 5 medicinal pill brewed by Ningning. Raising the strange blade in his hand and pointing it at the giant corpse, Yang Dingtian already knew that although the giant corpse had boundless strength, it was not agile. Moreover, its moves were rigid. It was not difficult to kill it, but he could not let it hit him head-on. Kill! Yang Dingtian shouted. His body shot out like lightning, and the strange blade in his hand pierced towards the giant corpse's chest. The 4th move of the pig-slaying swordsmanship was ruthless and decisive. However, the giant corpse's stomach was not cut open. Yang Dingtian's strange blade seemed to have stabbed into a wall, unable to move an inch. Yang Dingtian quickly retreated and looked at the giant corpse in front of him in horror. The monster's skin seemed to have been refined by some kind of medicine. It was actually invulnerable, like a real iron bastion. As a result, the giant corpse's fighting strength was astonishing. Although it was slow and not agile, it was completely invulnerable. What if I use profound qi? Yang Dingtian thought to himself. Immediately after, he shot out like lightning and pierced the giant corpse's chest again. This time, he instantly released all of his profound qi. However, the giant corpse was still unscathed. The previous sword had left a shallow wound, but this time, nothing was left. Soon, Yang Dingtian knew the reason. Profound qi mainly attacked the enemy's profound veins and internal organs. This giant corpse was originally an inanimate object. It had no profound veins, so profound qi was naturally useless against it. Ha, this giant corpse puppet is the result of my lifetime of research. You want to hurt it? Dream on. Poison Hand's devil sneered. Yang Dingtian held the modified strange blade and coldly looked at the giant corpse in front of him. Kill him. Following Poison Hand's devil's order, the giant corpse ferociously rushed forward again. The iron chain in its hand fiercely coiled around Yang Dingtian's neck. Yang Dingtian sneered. Ningning and Shiman Lai were afraid that his identity would be exposed, so they modified his strange blade and wrapped it with a layer of black iron. Now, in order to deal with the giant monster in front of him, he couldn't care less about hiding it. He slammed the strange blade on the ground and shook his arm. Immediately, the incomparably sharp night owl's strange blade cut through the outer layer of black iron, revealing the terrifying twisted true blade. Bang! The giant corpse's sharp iron chain suddenly whipped towards Yang Dingtian's head and was about to wrap around his neck. Yang Dingtian slashed with the strange blade in his hand. Bang! Immediately, the iron chain in the giant corpse's hand was cut through like tofu. Hiss! Immediately after, Yang Dingtian fiercely stabbed his sword into the giant corpse's chest. With an ear-piercing sound like tearing leather, the 4-foot-long strange blade completely pierced into the giant corpse's chest. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian fiercely pulled out the giant blade and quickly retreated a dozen meters, waiting for the giant corpse to fall. A disgusting green liquid flowed out from the chest wound, but the giant corpse didn't seem to feel it. It only looked down in a daze. Not only did it not fall, it didn't even seem to be in pain. Yang Dingtian was stunned. It didn't die even after being stabbed in the heart. However, Yang Dingtian soon understood. This giant corpse was an inanimate object. It might not even have a heart, so how could it die after being stabbed in the chest? How is this possible? What kind of sword is that? How could it pierce through my giant corpse puppet? My puppet has been soaked in medicine for 49 days. It's several times harder than steel. How could your sword pierce through it? Poison Hand's devil suddenly let out a shocked voice. Hard. Harder than a top-grade bloody black gold sword. One against the night owl's claws. One against profound ice-cold iron. Yang Dingtian sneered inwardly. Then, he continued to rush forward, the strange blade in his hand attacking the giant corpse like lightning. Swish, swish, swish. More than a dozen sword strikes left a dozen wounds on the giant corpse's body. Each wound was more than a foot long, and the giant corpse's body was instantly riddled with holes. However, the monster was unscathed and continued to attack Yang Dingtian crazily. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian changed his attack pattern. He no longer attacked the monster's body, but its limbs instead. Swish, 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 swish. More than a dozen sword strikes in succession. Yang Dingtian directly cut off the giant corpse's 2 astonishing legs into more than a dozen pieces. The 5-meter-tall giant seemed to have instantly shrunk. However, the giant corpse still didn't feel any pain. Its 3 arms were still crazily attacking. However, this giant corpse only had 2 trump cards, infinite strength and invulnerability. Once the invulnerability was broken, its slow movements would be nothing more than a punching bag. After cutting off its legs, Yang Dingtian quickly cut off its terrifying arms. Suddenly, the giant corpse puppet turned into a terrifyingly huge human stick. However, it still didn't feel any pain. Its face was still ferocious, and it opened its mouth to crazily bite Yang Dingtian. The whole scene was disgusting and shocking, making people shudder. Still not dead? I'll cut off your head and see if you die or not. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Then, he fiercely cut off the giant corpse's disgusting head. The bucket-sized head suddenly rolled to the ground, and the giant corpse's body finally crashed to the ground. However, after the giant corpse's hideous and terrifying head rolled to the ground, it still crazily opened its mouth to bite and let out disgusting roars. Yang Dingtian was shocked. After cutting off the head, it still didn't die. I'm going to dig open your brain and see what's inside. I'm going to chop your head into pieces and see if you're going to die or not, Yang Dingtian said coldly. Then, he waved his strange blade and aimed it at the giant corpse's head. Stop, stop. Have mercy. Poison Hand's devil shouted in horror. Yang Dingtian suspended the strange blade above the giant corpse's head and coldly said, Why should I have mercy? You don't remember my master saving your life, so why should I care? The body of this giant corpse puppet can be rebuilt, but the head is troublesome. It's my life's work. If you destroy it, I'll have nothing left. Poison Hand's devil said hoarsely. Oh. Yang Dingtian was delighted. He was originally worried that he wouldn't have anything to threaten Poison Hand's devil. Now that the giant corpse's head was his lifeblood, it could be used as a threat. If you don't want me to destroy this head, you just have to answer a few questions. Yang Dingtian directly said. Go ahead, go ahead. Poison Hand's devil said. Back then, you successfully entered the blood pool to cultivate. How did you do it? Yang Dingtian asked. Why are you asking this? Suddenly, Poison Hand's devil's voice became high-pitched and sharp, as if he had been electrocuted. His voice was filled with fear and anger. Answer my questions, or I'll destroy your life's success. Yang Dingtian coldly said as the strange blade pierced an inch into the giant corpse's head. Stop, stop. Poison Hand's devil hurriedly said. Then, Poison Hand's devil fell into silence. After a few minutes, he slowly said, because 20 years ago, I accidentally saved Dugu Zhao's life. At that time, he was only the young master of the Temple of Blood. He offended someone from the Sea of Netherworld and was poisoned with the world's most unique poison. Although he killed the people from the Sea of Nether, he couldn't do anything about the poison in his body, so he came to me. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't want to save him. However, the poison from the Sea of Nether was too strange. I couldn't help it, so I cured him. Poison Hand's devil paused for a moment before continuing. After curing him, I planned to kill him with poison. However, he told me that he was the young master of the Temple of Blood. Because I saved his life, he agreed to a condition of mine. When I said that I wanted to enter the blood pool to cultivate, he said that he could, but he would have to wait until he became the master of the Temple of Blood a few years later. Sure enough, a few years later, he became the master of the Temple of Blood, and I successfully entered the blood pool to cultivate once. Therefore, I became the first outsider to cultivate in the blood pool. Yang Dingtian immediately took a deep breath. So that's how it was. Because I saved Dugu Zhao's life, I successfully entered the blood pool to cultivate once. This condition was too difficult. Now that Dugu Zhao was a martial grandmaster expert, one of the top 5 or even top 3 experts in the world, who could save him? Then, how did you end up like this? How did you offend Dugu Zhao? Why did he torture you like this? Yang Dingtian asked. Once these words were spoken, Poison Hand's devil's body instantly trembled as though he was having a nightmare. I didn't do anything. After coming out of the blood pool, I successfully broke through 2 ranks. Then, less than half a month later, Dugu Zhao caught me, dug out my flesh, and poured lava in. He cut open my blood vessels and poured snake blood in, torturing me until I was neither human nor ghost. Poison Hand's devil shrieked while trembling. I didn't do anything. He said that he promised me to enter the blood pool to cultivate, and he did it. However, he didn't promise not to torture me. Just because I entered the blood pool to cultivate once, he tortured me until I wished I was dead. Back then, I said that I wanted to cultivate in the blood pool out of curiosity. If I knew the outcome would be like this, I wouldn't go, and even if you asked me to do it 10 or 100 times. Hearing Poison Hand's devil's words, Yang Dingtian instantly shuddered. This great demon was truly even more perverted and vicious than his daughter, Dugu Fengwu. An outsider had to pay such a huge price just to cultivate in the blood pool once. Even if that Yang Dingtian was a madman, he wouldn't be willing to pay such a heavy price. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and asked, then, let me ask you the second question. Do you have a myriad poisons, devil snake? Sister Ningning's deep sea mystic poison had been spreading towards her chi sea, and it couldn't be delayed any longer. Only the myriad poisons devil snake could suck the poison out. Therefore, this matter might be even more important. When Poison Hand's devil heard the second question, he immediately retracted all his miserable shrieks and sneered, myriad poisons devil snake. No one within 10,000 miles has it, except for me. Of course, I have it. How can I not have it? Senior, I want this myriad poisons devil snake. Yang Dingtian asked. In your dreams. Poison Hands Devil coldly scolded, if you want to take something from me, Poison Hands Devil, then you must be dreaming. Following that, Poison Hands Devil coldly said, don't try to use the giant corpse's head to threaten me. Otherwise, I will let you die here. Don't doubt if I have the ability to do so. Yang Dingtian didn't doubt that Poison Hands Devil Snake had the ability to do so. Yang Dingtian faintly smiled and said, of course, I won't take your item for free. Will I use something even more precious to exchange for it? Poison Hands Devil immediately snorted and sneered, no matter how precious the item is, it is nothing but dog fart in front of me. If you want to obtain my myriad poisons Devil Snake, stop dreaming. Yang Dingtian said, I heard that Senior Devil Corpse is #1 in the poison Tao and that there is no poison in this world that you can't detoxify? Is there such a thing? Of course. Poison Hands Devil proudly said. But right now, I have the world's most unique poison. Not to mention being unable to detoxify it, Senior has never even seen it before. Yang Dingtian laughed. Impossible. Poison Hands Devil sternly said, as if he had been greatly humiliated. He loudly said, impossible. Even if the sun rises in the west and the mountains and rivers reverse, it is still impossible. How old are you? How could you have a poison that I can't detoxify? And you still say that I have never seen this poison? That is the greatest lie in this world. Then let us officially compete. If Senior can detoxify the poison in my hand, then I will lose and accept Senior's punishment. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, if Senior can't detoxify it, then it will be considered my victory and your myriad poisons Devil Snake will be mine. At this time, Yang Dingtian had 2 unique poisons in his body. One was the deep-sea profound poison, and the other was his blood that had been infected by soul-devouring profound qi. These 2 poisons were undefeatable in this world. Yang Dingtian naturally didn't believe that Poison Hands Devil could detoxify them. He didn't even believe that he had seen them before. Alright, it's a deal. Poison Hands Devil sneered. His voice was filled with absolute confidence. He would rather die than believe that Yang Dingtian would be able to take out a strange poison that he couldn't detoxify. Yang Dingtian was so young and had such a low cultivation. If he wanted to take out a strange poison in the world, it would be a fool's dream. Then, Poison Hands Devil said in disdain, now, throw me that so-called unique poison of yours. Yang Dingtian took out a bottle containing Shiman Wuya's blood that had been infected by Zhu Qingzhu's soul-devouring profound qi. How can I give you this bottle? Yang Dingtian asked. Just throw it into the quagmire. Poison Hands Devil impatiently said. Suddenly, there seemed to be an invisible hand in the quagmire that directly sucked the porcelain bottle down. Senior, be careful. Don't touch the poison in the bottle. Yang Dingtian said. There is no poison in this world that I can't touch. There is no poison in this world that I fear. Poison Hands Devil sneered with disdain. Ah. Before he could finish, his voice suddenly changed. He let out a strange cry and trembled, what poison is this? It's actually so strange and so shocking. There is actually such a mysterious and terrifying poison in this world? Poison Hands Devil's voice began to tremble. Chapter 106. Next, Poison Hands Devil was like a drug addict as he let out all sorts of strange cries of excitement and shock. However, these cries were nothing but torture to Yang Dingtian's ears. Poison Hands Devil's perverse fanaticism towards the world's most unique poisons had far exceeded his imagination. It could be said that if the soul-devouring profound qi was extremely fatal, this perverse Ouyang Luan would have swallowed it whole long ago. Poison Hands Devil screamed excitedly for a dozen minutes before gradually coming to a stop. Yang Dingtian asked, Senior Ouyang, you've never seen this poison before, so you don't know what it is, right? I've never seen this poison before. Poison Hands Devil said, I don't know what kind of poison it is. When he said this, his tone was filled with frustration and vexation, but also great excitement. He was truly an incomparably contradictory person. Yang Dingtian wasn't surprised by this result. He immediately smiled, then I've won the bet, I know, this is the soul-devouring profound qi. Suddenly, Poison Hand's devil cried out in excitement, heavens, it's actually the soul-devouring profound qi. After several hundred years, the world's most evil profound qi has once again descended into the world. The world is about to fall into chaos. This time, it was Yang Dingtian's turn to be shocked. Poison Hand's devil actually knew about the soul-devouring profound qi. It was indeed as he said, the soul-devouring profound qi had disappeared for several hundred years. Almost no one in the world knew about this evil profound qi. Then does Senior have a way to cure it? Yang Dingtian excitedly asked, full of anticipation. If Poison Hand's devil answered that he did, then he would lose the bet. However, Yang Dingtian still hoped that he had a way. Suddenly, the quagmire fell into silence. After a long while, Poison Hand's devil said, I don't have a cure for the soul-devouring profound qi. Yang Dingtian's heart went cold. He was incomparably disappointed. Poison Hand's devil said, if I can't cure it, then you've won the bet. But why do you still look so unhappy? Could it be that someone close to you has been poisoned by the soul-devouring profound qi? That's right. She's the person closest to me. Yang Dingtian calmed himself down and said, Senior demonic corpse, you've lost, so please fulfill your promise and give me the myriad poison demonic snake. Kick the giant corpse puppet's head back into the quagmire first, said Poison Hand's devil. After a moment of hesitation, Yang Dingtian kicked the disgusting and terrifying head, which was also the result of Poison Hand's devil's lifetime of research, into the quagmire. Suddenly, it was as if an invisible hand had swallowed the giant head. All right, Senior, you can leave the myriad poisons demon snake to me now, Yang Dingtian said. Ha, dream on. I lost the bet, but I will definitely not give you the myriad poisons devil snake. In any case, I have already obtained the poisonous blood of the soul-devouring profound energy. Poison Hand's devil laughed loudly. Senior, are you going to go back on your words? Are you going to go back on your word? Yang Dingtian said angrily. That's right, I want to go back on my words. What can you do about it? If you're not afraid of death, why don't you kill your way into the quagmire? Poison Hand's devil laughed. Yang Dingtian looked at the huge quagmire in front of him. He didn't know how many poisons and dangers there were inside. Once he jumped in, death would be the only outcome. Senior is also famous, why are you such a scoundrel? Yang Dingtian coldly asked. I've always been a despicable and shameless person. I've always treated the words I've said and the oaths I've made as nonsense. You don't understand my character. Who can you blame for being tricked? Poison Hand's devil sneered. Yang Dingtian was speechless. A person who kept saying he was despicable and shameless, there was really nothing he could do about it. However, Yang Dingtian was already prepared for Poison Hand's devil's shamelessness. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian slowly said, Senior, have you heard of the deep-sea Xian poison? Poison Hand's devil shrieked, deep-sea Xian poison. The number one poison in the world, the last life-saving treasure of the Naga race, formed from the blood essence and Xian qi of the Naga race. How could I not know? Yang Dingtian asked, then do you want to see this poison, or even have a tiny bit of it? Yes, of course. I want it even in my dreams, even after I die. Poison Hand's devil's voice trembled. There was no doubt that the deep-sea Xian poison was an irresistible temptation to him. If the soul devourer Xian qi made him crazy, then the deep-sea Xian poison made him completely insane. Compared to the soul devourer Xian qi, the deep-sea Xian poison was a truly strange poison, and the number one poison in the world. Then, Poison Hand's devil gradually calmed down and said, You're lying to me. The deep-sea Xian poison is the last life-saving treasure of the Naga race. For 1,000 years, no one has ever seen a real Naga race. You're dreaming if you want to obtain the deep-sea Xian poison. So, if you want to trick me, you have to use something else. Using the deep-sea Xian poison to trick me, even a ghost won't believe you. Yang Dingtian sneered and raised the strange blade in his hand. Senior, do you know what kind of treasured sword this sword in my hand is? Do you know what one of the demon cores on the hilt is? Poison Hand's devil asked, what does this have to do with the deep-sea Xian poison? The sword in my hand is a melted Millennium Owl's claw. One of the demon cores on the hilt is the Millennium Owl's demon core. At that time, I was only an initiate. What did I rely on to kill the Millennium Owl? It was the deep-sea Xian poison. Otherwise, even if there were 10,000 or 100 million of me, I still wouldn't be able to kill the Millennium Owl, Yang Dingtian said. You killed the Millennium Owl? Did you kill the Millennium Owl in Horror Mountain Village? How is that possible? Impossible. Poison Hand's devil said in shock. Yang Dingtian was also surprised. The Millennium Owl was a top secret in Horror Mountain Village. How did Poison Hand's devil know? Senior, can't you tell that this strange blade is shaped like the Millennium Owl's claw? The Millennium Owl's demon core is very unique. Others might not be able to recognize it, but Senior can't. That's impossible, right? Yang Dingtian directly removed the decorations on the Millennium Owl's demon core. He didn't know how Poison Hand's devil had seen it, but he had seen it in the end. He sucked in a breath of cold air and muttered to himself, it really is the Millennium Owl's. If not for the fact that I was no match for it, I would have already had designs on it. With your cultivation, even 10,000 of you wouldn't be able to harm a single hair on the Millennium Owl. Could it be that you really have the deep-sea Xian poison? Poison Hand's devil's voice was trembling as he spoke. I never lie, Yang Dingtian slowly said. All right, I agree to the exchange. Give me the deep-sea Xian poison, and I'll immediately give you the myriad poisons devil snake, Poison Hand's devil said. Your previous broken promise has already caused me to no longer trust you. So please give me the myriad poisons devil snake first, then I'll give you the deep-sea Xian poison, Yang Dingtian said. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? If I give you the snake, what if you refuse to give me the deep-sea Xian poison? Poison Hand's devil said. Yang Dingtian disdainfully sneered, my cultivation might not be much, but I'm a man of my word. I'd rather die than go back on my word. Yang Dingtian's attitude was very arrogant, causing Poison Hand's devil to sink into silence. Yang Dingtian continued, furthermore, if I go back on my word, Senior can easily kill me with poison. All right, I agree, Poison Hand's devil said. Then, a snow-white box flew out of the quagmire. Yang Dingtian reached out to grab it and immediately felt a bone-piercing chill. This was a box carved from profound ice-cold jade. Opening the box, there was indeed a small snake that was only as thick as a chopstick. It was glistening dark green and looked very cute, but it was the overlord of all poisonous creatures in the world. It ate nothing but poisonous creatures. The more poisonous it was, the more it liked it. With it, he could suck out all the deep-sea Xian poison from Ningning's body. Quickly close the box, Poison Hand's devil said. Otherwise, when it wakes up, it'll be troublesome if you don't have any poison to feed it. It'll bite you to death. Seeing the beautiful little snake gradually wriggling, as if it was about to wake up, Yang Dingtian hurriedly closed the box and put it in his chest. Now, it's time for you to fulfill your promise, Poison Hand's devil said coldly, his tone filled with fatal threat. Yang Dingtian took out a jade bottle and threw it into the quagmire. Senior, there's deep-sea Xian poison inside. Although it's less than a 10,000th of it, it's still extremely poisonous. You can't even smell it. Senior, be careful. You're indeed a man of your word, Poison Hand's devil said. Then, the jade bottle was directly swallowed by the quagmire. A few minutes later, Poison Hand's devil suddenly let out a high-pitched scream of excitement. He was so excited that he was almost trembling. Strange poison, it's indeed the number one strange poison in the world." Then, Poison Hand's devil actually began to cry, wailing loudly under the quagmire. However, his cries were like the screeching of an owl, extremely ear-piercing. After crying, he began to laugh loudly. "Deep sea Xian poison, deep sea Xian poison. I never thought that I would be able to see deep sea Xian poison again in my life. Even if I die, I have no regrets. Ha, ha." Seeing Poison Hand's devil go completely crazy, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel sympathy for him. Then, holding on to the last trace of hope, he asked, "Senior, I'm just going to ask some random questions. It's up to you whether you want to answer them or not." Ask away, ask away." Poison Hand's devil said, "After you're done, hurry up and leave. Don't delay me from enjoying the number one strange poison in the world. Is there really no way for me to enter the blood pool to cultivate?" Yang Dingtian asked. Poison Hand's devil, who was in the quagmire, fell into silence. Then, he said, "Young man, I never speak in human language, but today, I'll say something. Go back and don't go to the Temple of Blood. I don't know what happened to you or what the consequences will be, but you'll be fine as long as you endure it. If you go to the Temple of Blood, your life will be over." In other words, in this world, there isn't a single outsider who can enter the blood pool to cultivate? Yang Dingtian asked. "Unless you kill Dugu Shao and take over the Temple of Blood, or you take Dugu Fengwu between your legs, don't even dream about it." Poison Hand's devil laughed. No matter which one it was impossible. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and bowed. "Senior Ouyang, this junior will take his leave. Please take care. Let's go. Help me burn an incense stick on your master's grave." Poison Hand's devil said, "For delivering the deep-sea mystic poison to me during the last few days of my life. Now, I can die without regrets." Yang Dingtian was startled. Poison Hand's devil only had a few days left to live. However, this was normal. He had suffered such miserable torture and was able to endure for over a dozen years. He was already a learned man. He had already snatched back over a dozen years of his life from the heavens. "Take care." Yang Dingtian bowed deeply again. Then, he turned and prepared to leave. Right at this moment, the sky in the distance suddenly lit up. A giant fiery red light directly tore apart the dark night sky. Then, there was an ear-piercing screech that nearly pierced Yang Dingtian's eardrums. A giant fiery red bat approached from afar. In the blink of an eye, it flew above Yang Dingtian's head and flapped its giant wings. This bat had blood-red eyes and a malevolent appearance. When it spread its wings, it was dozens of meters in size. Its entire body was as red as blood, like a burning flame. As it flapped its wings in the night sky, it was like a demon from hell had descended. As its giant wings flapped, a fiery gale swept up from the ground, causing Yang Dingtian to be unable to open his eyes. "What are you still doing here? Why aren't you leaving?" Poison Hand's devil, Ouyang Luan, said with a trembling voice that was filled with endless fear. Poison Hand's devil was such an evil person, but he was actually so fearful at this moment. It could be seen how powerful and terrifying this person was. "Poison Corpse, time is up. Can you cure the poison in my sister's body?" An incomparably sexy and seductive voice came from the giant bat. "Dugu Fengwu. The princess of the Temple of Blood, the number one demoness of the evil ways, Dugu Fengwu." When Yang Dingtian finally saw her again, it was as though his entire body was immobilized. "Young Lady Dugu, your sister's body isn't poisoned at all. Therefore, please forgive me for being powerless." Poison Hand's devil gradually calmed down and said slowly, "I can even say that no one in this world can save her. She can only live for one more day." "Ah!" Dugu Fengwu yelled out furiously, her voice filled with sorrow. "Then can the people from the Netherworld Sea be treated?" Dugu Fengwu asked. "I already said that young Lady Aoshuang isn't poisoned or injured. No one in this world can treat her, Poison Hand's devil said. Dugu Fengwu said furiously, since you can't save my sister, what's the use of keeping you? Go and die. Poison Hand's devil stayed silent for a moment and said slowly, I can die without regrets, but this lad on the ground is innocent. Please let him go. Dugu Fengwu sneered and said, O Yang Luan, when did you become a bodhisattva? Poison Hand's devil smiled faintly and said, when a person is about to die, his words are kind. Furthermore, this lad has the same experience as me when I was young. It's just that he chose to rise with difficulty, while I chose to fall. I have always regretted the path I took. Immediately after, Poison Hand's devil said to Yang Dingtian, lad, when I was young, my clan fell, and my fiancé broke off the engagement. I suffered great humiliation and almost lost my life. It's just that I chose to fall in darkness. Thus, I became Poison Hand's devil and poisoned my fiancée and her entire clan to death. However, after killing them, I didn't get any pleasure. Instead, I felt even more pain. Therefore, the path you took was right. Even though it was very difficult, you have to continue walking. Many thanks, Senior. Yang Dingtian bowed. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian turned to look at Dugu Fengwu in the sky and said, Young Lady Dugu, Senior Ouyang doesn't have long to live. Therefore, I beg you not to kill him and let him pass away on his own. Is that all right, Pa? Before Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Dugu Fengwu suddenly drew her sharp sword and slashed down at the quagmire. There was a loud sound as a sword light that was a few hundred feet long burst out. In an instant, the entire quagmire exploded, and a few hundred meters of the ground was slashed with deep crevices. All the mud was instantly evaporated by the sword light. Poison Hand's devil, who was in the quagmire, was directly slashed into two halves. He didn't even let out a scream and died immediately. At this moment, Yang Dingtian finally saw Poison Hand's devil's appearance. He didn't look like a human anymore. His entire body was festering and bulging like a wild beast crawling on the ground. It was a tragic sight. After being slashed into two halves by Dugu Fengwu, the blood that flowed out was green. Yang Dingtian stared blankly at Poison Hand's devil's corpse, and the blood in his body was almost boiling. This demonic woman. Demonic woman. She was actually so vicious and merciless. Poison Hand's devil didn't have many days left to live, and before Yang Dingtian could finish his request, she slashed down with her sword. Demonic woman, a completely inhumane demonic woman. Right now, Yang Dingtian was truly regretting that he didn't take advantage of this demonic woman's weakness back at the Catkin Manor to kill her. At this moment, Dugu Fengwu, who was in the sky, looked at Yang Dingtian indifferently and frowned with disdain. This ant on the ground didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and actually pointed at her, Dugu Fengwu, and made irresponsible remarks. Afterward, Dugu Fengwu raised her sharp sword and was about to slash down at Yang Dingtian. She, Dugu Fengwu, had always killed cleanly and didn't leave a single person alive. Sensing Dugu Fengwu's killing intent, Yang Dingtian slowly drew his night owl's strange blade and raised it above his head. Even if he was going to die, he had to put up a final resistance. Even though any resistance would be futile under Dugu Fengwu's sword. Even if he was a mantis trying to stop a chariot, he had to do it. Dugu Fengwu's sword light, which was a few hundred feet long, slashed down at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian aimed at that shocking sword light and cleaved at it. Just as Yang Dingtian was about to be smashed into pieces, Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes changed as she said, You are called Yan Nantian? Yang Dingtian was slightly startled. This was the fake name that he told Shuang, and Dugu Fengwu actually knew about it now. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, That's right, I am Yan Nantian. Dugu Fengwu withdrew her sword light and took out a portrait from her bosom. She carefully compared it with Yang Dingtian's face for a moment. Of course, Yang Dingtian was currently wearing a human skin mask. However, Dugu Fengwu couldn't be bothered with it. As for Yang Dingtian being worried that his true identity would be exposed, it would be a joke. Dugu Fengwu had even forgotten who Yang Dingtian was at this moment. "It is you," Dugu Fengwu said. She then pointed her jade-like hands at Yang Dingtian and suddenly opened up. In an instant, there was a powerful suction force, and Yang Dingtian's body flew up to 100 meters in the sky. He landed on the giant back of the bloodthirsty bat in front of Dugu Fengwu. At this moment, he finally saw Dugu Fengwu's true figure. She was still wearing a man's clothes and the same golden mask. Her entire body was still filled with devilish temptation and devilish killing intent. After grabbing Yang Dingtian onto the bat's back, Dugu Fengwu yelled out softly. That giant bat immediately flapped its wings and flew out of the netherworld swamp. "Young lady Dugu, where are you bringing me?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Temple of Blood," Dugu Fengwu replied. Yang Dingtian's heart pounded as he asked, "Why are we going to the Temple of Blood?" "To get married and become my Temple of Blood son-in-law," Dugu Fengwu said coldly. Chapter 107. Get married? Yang Dingtian asked in astonishment, "Who are you getting married to? Why are you asking so much? You will know when you get married." Dugu Fengwu said impatiently, "From now on, you better shut your mouth. If you say another word, I will slash you with my sword." Yang Dingtian was speechless again, but he immediately shut his mouth. This demonic woman's words were definitely not a threat, and she would definitely do it. However, the strange thing was that the bloodthirsty bat didn't fly towards the Temple of Blood in the north. Instead, it flew towards the land of chaos in the south. Despite the doubts in his heart, Yang Dingtian didn't ask. After all, the bloodthirsty bat was flying very fast. In less than 3 hours, the bloodthirsty bat had already flown over 2,000 miles and returned to the town where Yang Dingtian first met Shuang Er. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to know what Dugu Fengwu was going to do. She controlled the bloodthirsty bat to land just a few dozen meters away from the ground. The people in the town below immediately looked up with astonished eyes. Immediately after, Dugu Fengwu drew her long sword and slashed at the people on the ground. The sword light that was a few dozen meters long slashed on the ground. Pa! There was a loud sound, and the dozens of people on the ground were instantly smashed into pieces. On the hard ground, there was a huge crack that was a few meters long and a few meters deep. In an instant, the entire town fell into a deathly silence. Ah! Afterward, countless people started to scream in fear and ran for their lives. Dugu Fengwu looked at the people below with cold eyes. She controlled the bloodthirsty bat to fly to every corner of the town and slash down with her sharp sword. In an instant, countless sword lights slashed down from the sky, slashing at every corner of the town and every crowd. The entire town instantly turned into a Shura hell. Every sword light slashed down, turning the huge houses into ruins. The huge trees were turned into charcoal, and the hard and flat stone roads were split open. Countless people who were running for their lives were instantly smashed into pieces, and blood splattered everywhere. In just a short dozen minutes, there was no longer a single person or horse left standing in the town. Everyone in the town had been wiped out by Dugu Fengwu. The town within a radius of a few miles was completely reduced to ruins. This Dugu Fengwu was able to destroy the entire town by herself in just over 10 minutes. Yang Dingtian knew why Dugu Fengwu did this. It was because Shuang Er was bullied in this town. In order to seek justice for Shuang, Dugu Fengwu came over and killed everyone in the town. Yang Dingtian's body trembled violently. He turned his head and said, "You're crazy. The villains who bullied Shuang have all been killed by me. Although the people below are not good people, they are innocent when it comes to Shuang Er." "Shut up," Dugu Fengwu said coldly, "One more word, and I will cut off your tongue." After killing the entire town, Dugu Fengwu controlled the bloodthirsty bat and flew towards the north. 2 hours later, they once again flew over the netherworld swamp, and then continued flying towards the north. The Temple of 10,000 Blood was over 3,000 miles away from the Netherworld Swamp. After passing through the Netherworld Swamp, it was more or less the territory of the evil ways. But for close to 2,000 miles, it was almost all ruins. There were no traces of people living there. The ruins were already very old and overgrown with weeds. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but reveal an astonished expression. In the battle 200 years ago, almost all of our people died. Until now, we still haven't recovered. Dugu Fengwu said coldly, but one day, we will take back this blood debt and wipe out everyone in the Tiando League. Dugu Fengwu's body was emitting killing aura, which made Yang Dingtian feel as though there were thorns on his body. The dilapidated ruins stretched for about 2,000 miles. After passing through a giant black mountain range, everything changed completely. Yang Dingtian once again saw the densely packed buildings and the bustling crowd. It was filled with peace and order. From the looks of it, it wasn't any different from the Tiando League's territory. Some people were practicing martial arts, some were cutting trees, and some were mining. In short, there were no killings or robberies. Compared to the land of chaos, it was completely a paradise. This place was still over 1,000 miles away from the Temple of 10,000 Blood. This should be the territory of the Temple of 10,000 Blood, the true territory of the evil ways. From the looks of it, it wasn't any different from the Tiando League's territory. After more than an hour, the bloodthirsty bats flew over this prosperous and peaceful territory. They were now only 300 miles away from the Temple of 10,000 Blood. An extremely wide river obstructed their path. Even if Yang Dingtian was in the sky, he couldn't see the end of the river. The river water was bright red like blood, and the sky above the river was completely enveloped by a dense blood-red fog. This was the River of Ecstasy. It was 300 miles wide and a few thousand miles long. The river water was bright red like blood, and if someone fell into it, there wouldn't even be a corpse left. The Temple of 10,000 Blood was just opposite the River of Ecstasy. The 300 miles wide River of Ecstasy had become a natural barrier. Therefore, even though the Tiando League had obtained a great victory 200 years ago, they were still unable to exterminate the evil ways. This was because just the 300 miles wide River of Ecstasy had become an insurmountable moat. The bloodthirsty bats flew for 20 minutes across the 300 miles wide River of Ecstasy. Finally, a gigantic stone mountain came into view. The Mountain of 10,000 Blood stood on the River of Ecstasy. The highest point of the mountain was 20,000 meters high, and the entire mountain range extended for nearly 1,000 miles. The Temple of 10,000 Blood was built on the highest mountain of 10,000 Blood. The entire Mountain of 10,000 Blood was a gigantic stone mountain without any soil or vegetation. The countless buildings of the Temple of 10,000 Blood were within this stone mountain. The bloodthirsty bats carried the two of them over the 20,000-meter-tall Mountain of 10,000 Blood and arrived at the other side of the mountain. Instantly, Yang Dingtian saw the most magnificent scene. The entire stone mountain was densely packed with caves, and countless pavilions were built within the cracks of the stone mountain. The entire Temple of 10,000 Blood's buildings were of uncanny workmanship. On Earth, even in the high-tech era, it was almost impossible to complete such a huge and difficult project. The bloodthirsty bats landed on a giant platform. Dugu Fengwu grabbed onto Yang Dingtian and jumped off the bat. She then walked into a long passageway and arrived at a simple and crude cave. After throwing Yang Dingtian into the cave, Dugu Fengwu said coldly, "Wait here. We will get married tonight." The entire cave was very simple and crude, and there was only a stone bed and a few stone stools. Yang Dingtian sat on the stone bed. At this moment, he obviously knew who Dugu Fengwu was forcing him to get married to. It was Shuang, whom Yang Dingtian had once saved. Her name should be Dugu Aoshuang, and she was Dugu Fengwu's twin sister. It was just that the heavens had given Dugu Fengwu the most extreme beauty and the most extreme innate talent. In order to balance it out, the heavens had given Dugu Aoshuang a lifetime of misfortune. She had an absolutely beautiful figure and eyes, but her skin was covered with terrifying scales. The heavens gave Dugu Fengwu powerful martial strength, but made Dugu Aoshuang extremely weak. In the heavens, Dugu Fengwu was arrogant and vicious, but made Dugu Aoshuang feel inferior and pure. The Creator seemed to have given all his favoritism to Dugu Fengwu, and all the misfortune to Dugu Aoshuang. Therefore, Dugu Fengwu was cold and heartless to everyone in this world, but she was filled with endless love and guilt for her sister, Dugu Aoshuang. Now, young Ding Tian was facing a difficult problem. Should he marry Dugu Aoshuang? Should he not marry her? Not only would he not be able to enter the blood pool to cultivate, but he would also die without a doubt. Marry her. He might be able to make use of Dugu Aoshuang to enter the blood pool to cultivate, but that would be a blatant lie to Dugu Aoshuang. Facing such a pure and pitiful girl, how could young Ding Tian bear to do that? For a few hours, young Ding Tian's heart was in a deep struggle, and he was unable to make a choice. For a few hours, Dugu Fengwu didn't appear, and no one entered the stone room. Young Ding Tian seemed to have been forgotten in this place. It was going to be dark soon. After dark, the wedding would be held. At this moment, young Ding Tian had already made his choice. In order to save Yan Yan and kill Qin Shaobai, he was willing to have a wedding with Dugu Aoshuang. He would then make use of the opportunity to enter the blood pool to cultivate, and finally think of a way to escape the Temple of Blood. At this moment, the stone room's door suddenly opened, and it was completely dark outside. I heard that my daughter, Dugu Aoshuang, likes you a lot. Afterward, a penetrating voice echoed in his ears, and a tall figure slowly walked out from the darkness. This person was about 1.9 meters tall. He had thick eyebrows and a long beard. His face was red, his nose was hanging, his lips were thick, and his slanted eyes were piercing. He was about the same age as Dongfang Nimi and Shimen Wuya. He wasn't considered handsome, but he had an oppressive and tyrannical aura that couldn't be concealed even by his refined green robes. This person should be the Temple of Blood's temple master, Dugu Shao. The infamous great demon Dugu Shao, a grandmaster expert, one of the leaders of the evil ways, and one of the strongest people in this world. Yang Ding Tian climbed up from the stone bed and bowed. Yang Ding Tian pays his respects to Senior N. Dugu Shao sat down on a stone bench and replied indifferently. Are you willing to marry my daughter? I am willing. Yang Ding Tian lowered his head. Her appearance is very frightening. Don't you mind? Dugu Shao continued to ask. I don't feel that Shuang's appearance is frightening. Instead, she has a special kind of beauty, Yang Ding Tian said. Dugu Shao stood up and walked to Yang Ding Tian. He casually placed his palm on Yang Ding Tian's head and said, Tell me your true motive. Yang Ding Tian, you only have one chance to speak. If I'm not satisfied with your answer, I'll kill you. Yang Ding Tian's body suddenly trembled. Why was he still recognized even though he was disguised as Yan Nantian? I could smell your pure yang meridians from dozens of feet away. You're the only one in this world with such profound meridians, Dugu Shao said indifferently. Tell me, what is your motive for coming to the Temple of Blood? You only have one chance to answer. Instantly, Yang Ding Tian felt that he was in an ice cellar. His entire body was ice cold, and the light of the Grim Reaper started to envelop him. As long as his answer didn't satisfy this great demon, he would definitely die. I want to enter the blood pool to cultivate, Senior Dugu. Yang Ding Tian spoke the truth. Dugu Zhao's palm didn't fall as he said indifferently, You want to break through in the blood pool, kill Qin Shaobai, and save Shimen Yanyan? Yang Ding Tian was stunned. This Dugu Shao knew everything, but he still wanted to ask him. If he was lying, he would already be a corpse. That's right. Senior, please show mercy and let me enter the blood pool to cultivate once, Yang Ding Tian said. Why should I? Even the majority of our disciples can't enter the blood pool to cultivate. Why should I allow an outsider like you to enter? Dugu Shao asked indifferently. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and said, because I once saved the life of your daughter, Dugu Aoshuang. I think this favor should be enough for me to enter the blood pool to cultivate once. Dugu Aoshuang? I don't even like this daughter. What does it have to do with me whether you save her or not? Dugu Xiao said indifferently, if the one you saved was Dugu Fengwu, then it would be better. Yang Dingtian was instantly astonished. This Dugu Xiao was actually so cold and heartless. No matter what, Dugu Aoshuang was still his biological daughter. As for her life and death, he actually didn't care at all. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt a chill in his teeth. Dugu Xiao then looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Yang Dingtian, it's not impossible for you to enter the blood pool to cultivate. However, you have to agree to a condition of mine first. What condition? Senior, please tell me. Yang Dingtian said. The condition is to marry Dugu Aoshuang and become the son-in-law of my temple of blood. Dugu Xiao asked. Yang Dingtian was slightly startled. What was the difference? Yang Dingtian had already agreed to marry Dugu Aoshuang just now. It was just that he said it with the identity of Yan Nantian. Dongfang Minmi and Shimen Wuya have their eyes on you. However, Dongfang Bingling didn't. Do you know why? Dugu Xiao said, because Dongfang Minmi and Shimen Wuya are both great grandmaster experts, but Dongfang Bingling isn't. Following that, Dugu Xiao said, I am also a great grandmaster expert. Therefore, I have my eyes on you as well. You might not know this, but your pure young meridian that only appears once in 1,000 years is unfathomable. It is a huge temptation to us. Therefore, as long as you agree to be my son-in-law, you can cultivate in the blood pool 10 times or even 100 times, let alone once. Following that, Dugu Xiao said, furthermore, as long as you become my son-in-law. Even if Dugu Aoshuang dies soon, if your cultivation surpasses my other daughter, Dugu Fengwu, I can make the decision to betroth her to you. If your cultivation reaches the pinnacle, then I can also give you the position of Temple of Blood Lord. How about that? Yang Dingtian was astonished and speechless. Now, make a choice. Either you become my son-in-law and completely cut off all ties with the Tiando League and become a member of the evil ways. Dugu Xiao said indifferently, or, you can die. I will never allow a person with absolute talent to stay in the Tiando League. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and looked at Dugu Xiao's palm above his head. As long as he said no, Dugu Xiao would cleave down with his palm. Alright, I am willing. Yang Dingtian said, I am willing to be your son-in-law. That's right, Yang Dingtian agreed to him. Because he was facing a super demon. Talking about keeping a promise in front of him wasn't noble, but foolish. Yang Dingtian wasn't so pedantic. Dugu Xiao looked at Yang Dingtian indifferently and revealed a smile. Very good. Then let's start preparing for the wedding. Chapter 108. Then, Dugu Xiao said, you can stay here peacefully for a period of time. You can officially get married after 10 days. 10 days? Instantly, Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. 6 days later was the day of his duel with Qin Xiaobai. Dugu Xiao actually said that they would get married after 10 days. Then everything would be too late. Everything would be over. Then, Dugu Xiao gently said, of course, I am willing to believe you personally. But what if you are faking your marriage with my daughter and using her to enter the 10,000 blood pool to cultivate and then take the opportunity to escape from the Temple of 10,000 blood? Then wouldn't I become a huge laughingstock? So, after 10 days, when Cloud Heaven City's situation is completely finished, you can marry Aoshuang. This will be good for both of us. Then, Dugu Xiao stood up and walked outside, saying, in these 10 days, you can stay in this stone room and wait for the marriage. After Dugu Xiao left, the thick door of the stone room closed. Ah! Yang Dingtian suddenly roared and smashed his fist on the stone wall. Immediately, blood dripped and a piece of the stone wall cracked. This damned Dugu Shao, this damned great demon, was actually so cunning. He saw through Yang Dingtian's thoughts and didn't fall for it at all. After a moment of anger, Yang Dingtian calmed down. He definitely couldn't resign himself to death like this. He had to think of a way to get out. Thus, Yang Dingtian began to observe the stone room. The wall itself was a mountain of stone and was extremely thick. It was impossible to break through. The door was made of metal, so his night owl's strange blade should be able to cut it open. However, there were definitely guards outside, and their cultivation levels were definitely higher than his. Just as Yang Dingtian was racking his brains to think of a way to get out, a colorless and odorless thing suddenly came out of the stone room. Yang Dingtian felt something was wrong and immediately held his breath, but it was still useless. The medicinal smell directly penetrated through his skin. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's mind started to feel dizzy, his eyes started to blur, and his steps started to sway. Yang Dingtian used all of his profound qi and willpower to resist the drug, but he still fainted. He didn't know how long he had been unconscious, but when Yang Dingtian woke up again, he was very hungry and very thirsty. He should have been unconscious for more than 12 hours. After waking up, a small hole was opened in the metal door, and a meal was stuffed in. It was quite sumptuous, and there was also wine. Yang Dingtian's stomach was rumbling with hunger. He immediately took the food and wine and finished them all. Just as he was full, another colorless and odorless medicinal mist came out of the room, and Yang Dingtian fainted again. Just like this, Dugu Shao locked Yang Dingtian in the stone prison, ignoring him. However, 3 meals a day would be sent over. After Yang Dingtian finished eating, the stone cave would release a kind of aura, which instantly made Yang Dingtian drowsy. Just like this, Yang Dingtian ate and slept every day, and slept and ate again. No one cared, no one cared. 3 meals was equivalent to a day. 1 day passed. 2 days passed. 3 days passed. Yang Dingtian tried everything, but he was unable to get out of this stone cave, because he was really unable to resist the mysterious drug. Yang Dingtian was really going crazy. He had suffered all kinds of pain since coming to this world, but he had never suffered such terrible torture. This Dugu Shao was really a demon. He didn't torture you physically, but thoroughly tortured you mentally and spiritually. Yang Dingtian was about to go crazy because the day of his martial arts duel with Qin Shaobai was about to arrive. He had used all of his strength, but he was still unable to break open the stone door. Instead, his limbs were dripping with blood and were badly mutilated. Finally, 6 days passed. During these 6 days, no one met with Yang Dingtian, and no one talked to him. Even every meal was pushed in through the small hole in the stone door. The day of the duel with Qin Shaobai was over, and Yang Dingtian didn't appear in the duel. Qin Shaobai and the others were proud, but Shiman Yanyan, Shiman Ningning, Madame Shiman, Shiman Lai, and the others were disappointed. Now, the entire northwest continent was definitely spreading the news of Yang Dingtian's cowardice, shamelessness, and despicable. The rumor of Yang Dingtian using despicable means to rape Madame Shiman and using the yin-yang devour Xian technique to steal Xian qi to achieve a breakthrough would be recognized as the truth. Yang Dingtian and Madame Shiman would be completely nailed to the pillar of shame. On the 6th day, the stone door finally opened, and a figure walked in. Yang Dingtian was originally lying on the ground, but at this moment, he suddenly stood up. The person who came was Dugu Shao, the great demon of evil ways, Dugu Shao. 6 days have passed, and the day of your duel with Qin Shaobai has passed. You should know very well how serious the consequences are, right? Dugu Shao said, "Don't worry, my spies in Cloud Heaven City will send you detailed information very soon. After a few days, you will know everything that happened in Cloud Heaven City." Yang Dingtian remained silent. Seems like the torture wasn't enough. Dugu Shao said, "You didn't kneel down and beg me, nor did you cry bitterly. Your willpower is indeed very strong." Yang Dingtian still didn't say anything. do you want to go out? Dugu Xiao asked. Yes, Yang Dingtian said. Do you want to go out from the stone cave or leave the Temple of Blood and return to Cloud Heaven City? Dugu Xiao asked. Leave the Temple of Blood and return to Cloud Heaven City, Yang Dingtian said. But you are already a disgrace to Cloud Heaven City. There is no place for you there. What should I do? Dugu Xiao said. Yang Dingtian said, that is my problem. I will give you a choice. Promise me and I will let you go, Dugu Xiao said. Please say it, Yang Dingtian said. Acknowledge me as your master and become a member of the Temple of Blood. I will do my best to nurture you. How about that? Dugu Xiao said, as long as you swear to completely break off all ties with Shimen Wuya, I will let you go. Yang Dingtian smiled coldly and didn't reply. Since his trick had been seen through by Dugu Xiao, he didn't need to continue acting. Alright, it seems like your pitiful willpower is still there. I will have to lock you up for a few more days, Dugu Xiao said. I will come back in 3 days with news from Cloud Heaven City. After saying that, Dugu Xiao walked out and closed the stone door. Yang Dingtian knew that his duel with Dugu Xiao had begun. This wasn't a duel of strength but a duel of spirit and willpower. Whoever compromised first would be the loser. Of course, Dugu Xiao could kill at any time, but as long as he killed Yang Dingtian, he, Dugu Xiao, would lose. In the next few days, Yang Dingtian returned to his previous life. After eating, he slept. After waking up, he ate again. Even though he didn't want to sleep, the domineering mist came over and seeped into his entire body, causing him to fall asleep immediately and fall into a deep dream. However, even in his dreams, he had countless nightmares. He dreamed of Yan Yan, Madame Shimen, and Shimen Ningning. Each dream was scarier than the previous one. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, finally, 3 days passed. On this day, Yang Dingtian tried his best to stay awake as he waited for Dugu Xiao to come and tell him about Cloud Heaven City. However, Dugu Xiao didn't come. Another day passed. 2 days, he didn't know how many days had passed. Every day, he just ate and slept. Each nightmare was scarier and more miserable than the previous one. However, Yang Dingtian didn't know how Cloud Heaven City was doing. He didn't know how the people he cared about were doing. That's right. Dugu Xiao was a demon. He was torturing Yang Dingtian. He already knew about Cloud Heaven City's situation, but he didn't tell Yang Dingtian. It was like a felon. He felt that he would betray the death penalty, but he also felt that he wouldn't. However, the judge didn't sentence him and hung him up day after day, torturing him. Time passed day by day. He ate countless meals, slept countless times, and had countless dreams. He really didn't know how many days had passed. Ka. Finally, the stone door opened again. Dugu Xiao finally walked in again. Yang Dingtian crawled up from the ground weakly. He had lost more than 10 kilograms and was covered in dirt. The beard on his face was also 2 inches long. He really didn't know how many days had passed. Sorry, I forgot about you. I said I would come and see you in 3 days. I didn't expect to see you in 10 days. It has been more than half a month since you came to the Temple of 10,000 Blood. Dugu Xiao sat down in front of Yang Dingtian and said, Do you want to know what happened in Cloud Heaven City? Do you want to know what happened to Shimen Yanyan? Yang Dingtian nodded weakly. Dugu Xiao smiled. You didn't appear on the day of the duel. Shimen Yanyan was found guilty. Cloud Heaven City is finished. Shimen Yanyan is finished. Madame Shimen is finished. Shimen Lai is finished. Shimen Ningning is finished. You have become the shame of the world. Madame Shimen has also been nailed to the pillar of shame. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt as though he was struck by lightning as he stood there in a daze. You didn't believe me when I told you about their fates, so I caught someone you are familiar with to tell you. Only then will you believe me, Dugu Xiao said. Then, he clapped his hands lightly. Instantly, a green figure rushed in. It was actually Lu, Yan Yan's personal maidservant Lu, Seeing Yang Dingtian, Lu, rushed over crazily. Her sharp nails scratched on Yang Dingtian's face, ruthlessly leaving 10 bloody scars. She shouted sternly, Yang Dingtian, you bastard, you bastard. Why didn't you appear on the day of the duel? Why didn't you appear? Yang Dingtian suddenly hugged Lu's body. Lu's body was ice cold, and her frail body was trembling. He cupped her face. She was haggard and thin, as though she had experienced countless hardships. Lu, how is Yan Yan? How is big sister Ningning? How is big brother Shimen Lai? How is madam? Yang Dingtian asked while trembling. How else can she be? How else can she be? Lu, cried loudly. Shimen Lai led the Black Blood Cavalry to attack the city to save young Mississippi. But because of the rumors about you and madam, the Black Blood Cavalry's morale was low. They were defeated, and young Master Shimen Lai escaped with injuries. Young Miss Ningning summoned 10,000 beasts to attack the city, but her mystic chi was exhausted and she fell from the floating ray. The 10,000 beasts lost control and trampled crazily. Her figure could no longer be found, and only a tattered skirt was left. Young Miss originally wanted to commit suicide, but Qin Xiaobai threatened her with madam's life, so she was forced to marry that bastard Qin Huayu. The wedding is next month. Madam was humiliated and her reputation was ruined. She originally wanted to commit suicide, but Qin Xiaobai threatened her with young Miss's life, so she is now imprisoned by them. Ah! Yang Dingtian clenched his teeth and spat out blood. He suddenly roared and spat out a mouthful of blood before fainting. With the infusion of Dugu Zhao's mystic qi, Yang Dingtian quickly woke up. Dugu Zhao said, Yang Dingtian, do you want to go out? Do you want to obtain freedom? Do you want to take revenge? Yang Dingtian nodded. Alright, promise me one condition, and I will let you go. I will make you incomparably powerful. I will let you kill Qin Xiaobai, Qin Huayu, the entire Northwest Qin clan, Yang Yan, and all your enemies. Defeat Dongfang Bingling, and you can use the entire myriad blood pool whenever you want. My temple of blood will do everything to nurture you. Dugu Zhao said, as long as you promise me one condition, become my, Dugu Zhao's, son-in-law. Yang Dingtian had already lost all reaction. He just nodded and said, I promise you anything. This means that you will completely become a member of the evil ways and completely cut off all ties with the Tiando League. Completely cut off all ties with Shimen Wuya and Dongfang Minmi, Dugu Zhao said coldly. Yang Dingtian still nodded blankly and said, I accept everything. Lu said angrily at the side, Yang Dingtian, you bastard, young miss is really blind. Then, she suddenly rushed forward and wanted to use her nails to scratch Yang Dingtian's face. Dugu Zhao grabbed Lu and said to Yang Dingtian, very good, in order to show your determination, sign a pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance? What pledge of allegiance? Yang Dingtian asked. Dugu Zhao pulled out a sharp sword and handed it to Yang Dingtian, this girl in front of you is Shimen Yanyan's personal maid. If you kill her, it will show your determination to break off all ties with the Tiando League. Ah! Lu immediately let out a cry of surprise. What? Yang Dingtian was instantly stunned. Dugu Zhao said, if you don't kill her, it means your determination to break off all ties with the Tiando League is not enough. I will definitely not raise a wolf that can betray me at any time. Therefore, if you don't kill her, you will die. Yang Dingtian received the sword. His hands began to tremble, his face began to turn pale, and his eyes surged with an incomparably complicated light. Then, he raised the sharp sword, aimed at the girl in front of him, and fiercely slashed down. Ah! A miserable cry rang out. Blood spurted out, and the girl in front of him died. Dugu Shao revealed a sinister smile and said, "Very good. Then in 2 hours, we will immediately bow to heaven and earth and get married." After saying that, Dugu Shao dragged Lu Er's corpse out of the stone room. The corner of his mouth revealed a sinister and complacent smile again. In this battle of willpower and spirit with Yang Dingtian, he had won. When he subdued any talent, he first had to thoroughly torture them, both mentally and spiritually. Only after the torment would the talent be completely obedient and fearful, just like how an eagle would be tortured. Humph. What strong willpower! What powerful spirit! You are still just an ant. Dugu Shao sneered. After Dugu Shao left, Yang Dingtian suddenly opened his eyes. The dazed and despairing gaze was gone, and there was a hint of mockery in his cold eyes. "Master, how long has it been since I was locked in the stone cave in the Temple of Blood?" Yang Dingtian asked in his heart. "According to your Earth's time, 72 hours have already passed," Dongfang Minmi said. 72 hours? He clearly felt that 18 days had passed, so why was it only 3 days? That's right, it was 72 hours. It wasn't even time for the duel with Dugu Shao, so the so-called tragedy in Cloud Heaven City was fake. It was all just a mental trap set up by Dugu Shao. The Temple of Blood used a kind of sorcery and medicine to make people fall asleep immediately after eating and enter a long dream. It made people feel like they had slept for 7 to 8 hours, but in reality, it was only slightly more than an hour. During this 1 hour, they used mystic qi to consume the food that Yang Dingtian had just eaten. When he woke up, he would feel hungry again and eat again. Just like that, he ate, slept, and ate again. 3 meals was a day's time. Using this method to time, even though only 3 days had passed, it felt like more than half a month had passed. And during these 3 days, Yang Dingtian had been sleeping most of the time in different dreams. When a person slept for tens of minutes, their dreams would often feel as long as a few hours. Therefore, during the 3 days of sleep, Yang Dingtian really felt like more than half a month had passed in his dreams. As for his body becoming skinnier and growing a beard that was a few inches long, it was a piece of cake for the Temple of Blood. The reason why Dugu Shao was torturing Yang Dingtian mentally was to make Yang Dingtian feel despair before completely falling into the embrace of evil ways. Under the Temple of Blood sorcery, everyone's mental state would crumble and they would all surrender. The Temple of Blood had used this sorcery on many experts, and none of them had failed. No one had discovered it, except for Yang Dingtian. It was because his master's soul was still in his mind. As for the Lu that Yang Dingtian had killed, she was obviously a fake. She had only used an extremely brilliant disguise technique. Yang Dingtian had already passed this stage of the mental battle. Now, the only thing left was to successfully enter the blood pool to cultivate and then escape from the Temple of Blood. Right now, there were still 3 days before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. This was very difficult, but Yang Dingtian had to do it. Over 10 minutes later, over 10 maids walked into Yang Dingtian's stone house and helped Yang Dingtian bathe, cut his hair, and change his clothes. These dozen or so maids all had enchanting figures and beautiful faces. However, when they walked into the stone house, these maids all covered their noses because the smell inside was not very pleasant. These girls all had expressions of disgust on their faces, but they did not have any bad intentions. "Second young master, please get up. We will help you wash up," a young lady in a red dress said delicately with a slight frown. Yang Dingtian pretended to be stupefied and stood up, allowing these girls to take off his clothes and bathe him. "Our second young mistress is finally married. Furthermore, she has married such an outstanding young master. She will definitely be happy in the future," a pretty maid in green said softly. "Little hussy, do you want to be second young mistress's maid so that you can share?" The maid in red teased. "You want to share this big dummy?" The maid in green retorted delicately. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian pretended to be a marionette and was dragged to bathe, shave, cut his hair, and change into a red robe. Finally, He was escorted out by over 10 girls. The groom is here, the groom is here. Along the way, they took hundreds and thousands of turns and entered countless stone caves and paths. Yang Dingtian realized that the Temple of Blood was completely excavated from the belly of the mountain. Furthermore, it was extremely huge and had countless stone rooms. At the start, the stone path was rather narrow and the stone rooms on both sides were very crude. There weren't many people either. As they gradually spiraled upwards, the stone path became wider and wider. In the end, it was even about 10 meters wide. The stone rooms on both sides became more exquisite and more people gathered on both sides of the stone path. However, Yang Dingtian was currently acting as someone who had a mental breakdown and couldn't look at these people in detail. There were many top-notch experts in this group of people. As long as Yang Dingtian's gaze was strange, it would be easy for them to see through him. However, Yang Dingtian was still able to hear some voices. Second young mistress is finally married. It wasn't easy, that's right. Second young mistress is finally a bride before she dies. They have the same parents. First young mistress is as beautiful as a fairy while second young mistress isn't. Isn't this too unfair? The auspicious hour is approaching. Bride and groom, please take your places. Suddenly, a deep voice sounded. It turned out that they had already reached the top of the Temple of Blood. The top of the Temple of Blood was truly a magnificent jade palace with carved railings and walls. There were dozens of buildings and 3 plazas that were completely built within the giant crevice of the mountain peak that was a few thousand meters high. Therefore, the entire garden was suspended within the mountain peak that was 20,000 meters high. It was unknown whether this giant crevice was naturally formed or man-made. In short, it was truly a work of the gods. 10,000 meters below was the Rapture General that was filled with red light. The Temple of Blood was truly easy to defend and difficult to attack. Even if a million-strong army came, they would be helpless. Compared to Cloud Heaven City, the difficulty and surprise of the Temple of Blood's construction were far superior. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian's gaze quickly swept across the crowd in the building's main hall. It was obvious that all the top-notch experts of the Temple of Blood were here. However, all the lights suddenly went out and the entire building's main hall was plunged into complete darkness. It was so dark that one couldn't even see one's own fingers. Even though he knew that there were thousands of people in the main hall, he couldn't see them at all. The atmosphere instantly became strange. Then, a fragrant wind wafted over. The fragrant bride has arrived, a man shouted loudly. At this moment, there were still 69 hours before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. Chapter 109. At this moment, there were still 69 hours before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. Immediately after, someone led Yang Dingtian to the bride's side. Instantly, he smelled a familiar and alluring body fragrance. Yang Dingtian had never encountered such a dark place. He couldn't see anything at all. He couldn't even see half an inch in front of his eyes. Instantly, Yang Dingtian's heart was filled with endless sympathy. Dugu Aoshuang was so self-abased that when she was getting married, she had to do it in the dark and didn't dare to let anyone see her face. The auspicious time has arrived. The bride and groom shall bow to heaven and earth. Then, a red silk was stuffed into Yang Dingtian's hand. The other end was in the hands of the second young mistress, Dugu Aoshuang. Immediately after, a fragrance approached. An ice-cold but extremely moving voice echoed. Remember to treat my sister well. Tomorrow morning, if I see my sister smiling, you can live. If she doesn't smile, you are dead. Finishing her words, the great demoness Dugu Fengwu left, leaving behind the lingering fragrance and the threat of ice-cold killing intent. First bow to heaven and earth. Then, while his heart was in a mess, Yang Dingtian and the second young mistress of the Temple of Blood, Dugu Aoshuang, bowed to heaven and earth. Second bow to the parents. Husband and wife bow to each other. Send them to the bridal chamber. Just like that, Yang Dingtian ended the ceremony and was sent to the bridal chamber. From start to end, it didn't take more than 3 minutes. He didn't see any of his relatives or guests. The bridal chamber was very far away. The Temple of Blood was at the front of the giant stone mountain, while Dugu Aoshuang's bridal chamber was at the back of the mountain. Dugu Aoshuang was the only one living at the back of the mountain. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt a little more pity for Shuang. No one disturbed the bridal chamber. Only Yang Dingtian and Dugu Aoshuang were at the north of the giant stone mountain, which was dozens of miles away from the Temple of Blood. In the bridal chamber, it was still pitch black. Could it be that they were going to spend their bridal chamber night in the dark? You should have heard of my reputation as a hag, right? Dugu Aoshuang suddenly said coldly, but don't think that marrying me is a great favor. The voice was very familiar. It was the Shuang that Yang Dingtian had met. However, at this moment, her tone was cold, without the slightest bit of gentleness. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly stunned. What did Dugu Aoshuang mean by that? Dugu Fengwu feels that she owes me, so she wants me to be a bride before I die. In order to not let her feel indebted to me, I accepted her kindness. Dugu Aoshuang said, but if you dare to touch me, I will definitely let you die without a burial ground, because my heart already belongs to someone. Although I will never marry him, I will not be willing to let other men touch me. Yang Dingtian said gently, don't worry, I won't touch you. Ah. After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Dugu Aoshuang exclaimed in disbelief, Big Brother Yan, it's you. His tone was full of surprise. Yes, it's me. Yang Dingtian said. Immediately after, he felt a warmth in his embrace, and a soft and delicate body suddenly threw itself into his embrace. Big Brother Yan, why is it you? Why are you here? I am not dreaming, right? Dugu Aoshuang said with a trembling voice. Yang Dingtian said with astonishment, you don't know that the person who is marrying you is me? I don't know. Dugu Aoshuang said, Dugu Fengwu didn't tell me. She only said that she found a husband for me. Big Brother Yan, why are you here? I am not dreaming, right? Dugu Aoshuang trembled slightly in his embrace. But then, her excitement gradually faded. After a moment of silence, she said sadly, Big Brother Yan, it was my sister who caught you and forced you to marry me, right? Yang Dingtian didn't deny it. Actually, you are not willing to marry me in your heart. You don't like me in your heart, right? Dugu Aoshuang said with a trembling voice, that's right. Who would like a woman with scales all over her body? When she said this, Dugu Aoshuang's boiling hot body gradually cooled down. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath, and his voice became gentle, Shuang, can I call you that? Yes, I like it when you call me that. Dugu Aoshuang said. I like you very much. You have a good figure, a beautiful appearance, and a kind and pure girl. I like you very much. Yang Dingtian said. Dugu Aoshuang seemed to have recovered her vitality, and said, Then you are willing to marry me? Yang Dingtian didn't say anything for a long time. Even in the darkness, he could still see Shuang's eyes that were filled with hope. Her eyes were simply too beautiful and enchanting. I want to say that I am willing to marry you, Shuang. Even though marrying a girl like you is an incomparable blessing, I already have a wife. Yang Dingtian said slowly. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt a warmth on his palm. It was Dugu Aoshuang's tears falling. Yang Dingtian's heart softened, and he continued, Furthermore, I came to the Temple of Blood with a purpose that I can't tell anyone. What is it, Big Brother Yan? Dugu Aoshuang asked. Even though Yang Dingtian had already revealed his identity, Dugu Aoshuang still called him Big Brother Yan. Enter the blood pool to cultivate and work hard to break through. Then, return to Cloud Heaven City to save my wife. Yang Dingtian said. After a moment of silence, Dugu Aoshuang raised her head and said, Big Brother Yan, can you tell me about her? What happened to her? Alright, she is called Yan Yan Shiman. Yang Dingtian said. Next, Yang Dingtian narrated the story of him and Yan Yan, all the way to how Yan Yan was framed by Qin Shaobai and how Yang Dingtian was going to duel with Qin Shaobai 3 days later. He told Dugu Aoshuang everything. After listening, Dugu Aoshuang said gently, Big brother Yan, Shiman Yan Yan Shiman is really blessed. If I could be like her, even if I had to die immediately, I would be willing. Yang Dingtian said, Shuang, although Yan Yan Shiman is one of a kind in my heart. But I want to say that regardless of appearance or personality, you and Yan Yan Shiman are the most beautiful women in the world. After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, Dugu Aoshuang's beautiful eyes instantly revealed infinite gentleness. She said, Big brother Yan, you actually don't have to tell me these things and just say that you are willing to marry me. Then you can ask me to help you enter the blood pool to cultivate. You know that I like you, so I am willing to do anything for you. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, You are so cute and pure, who would have the heart to deceive you? After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, Dugu Aoshuang's beautiful eyes revealed even more joy. After thinking for a while, Shuang, said, Big brother Yan, is this okay? Yang Dingtian will belong to Yan Yan Shiman, but Yan Nantian will belong to me, okay? Didn't you say that you don't hate me like this? Today, let me and Yan Nantian be husband and wife, then I will help you enter the blood pool to cultivate, help you escape from the temple of blood, and let you save little sister Yan Yan Shiman, okay? Yang Dingtian was stunned. He really didn't think that Dugu Aoshuang would make such a request, and he didn't know how to reply. Hearing that Yang Dingtian didn't have any reaction, Dugu Aoshuang's delicate body trembled and said, Big brother Yan, you said that you don't hate the scales on my body. You are telling the truth, right? Immediately, her words were filled with fear. If Yang Dingtian was lying, then there would be no one in this world who wouldn't be afraid of her. This would make her collapse, and it would make her only faith completely collapse. Of course. Yang Dingtian lowered his head and said in a gentle but firm voice, If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely tell you that I don't hate the secret of the scales on your body. I even think that they are very sexy. Then why don't you agree? After tomorrow, you will be back to being Yang Dingtian. I will only let you be Yan Nantian for a day, or even half a day. Dugu Aoshuang said, I am about to die, but before I die, I really want to be with the man I love and become a real woman. Furthermore, you said that you aren't afraid of my appearance. Yang Dingtian stayed silent for a moment before saying, Shuang, I am very tempted by your suggestion, but I also want to tell you a secret. My wife and I are very much in love. We have already been married for a few months, but we still haven't become a real husband and wife. Ah! Dugu Aoshuang instantly let out a cry of disbelief. If I agree to it, I will be fine. Instead, I will be taking a huge advantage. But to you, it is indeed incomparably unfair. Yang Dingtian said, I have always faintly felt that there will be a day when the scales on your body will fade away. You will undergo the nirvana of a phoenix, and you will become a woman as beautiful and radiant as Dugu Fengwu. When that time comes, there will be countless men who will go crazy for you. Therefore, if I agree to it now, it will be the greatest irresponsibility. Really, Big brother Yan? Do you really think that the scales on my body will fade away? Dugu Fengwu asked with a trembling voice. I feel that it is so. Yang Dingtian said, Furthermore, after leaving the Temple of Blood, I will travel the world to cultivate. When that time comes, I will definitely work hard to find a way to let your scales fade away. Of course, I don't dare to say that I will definitely find it, but one should never give up hope at any time. Also, do not make any important decisions because of despair, alright? Shuang said with a gentle voice, but, even if all the scales on my body fade away in the future, even if I am radiant in the future, my heart will never change. I will still love you. If that is the case, then you will be the luckiest man in the world. Yang Dingtian laughed and said, Shuang, how long did they say you have to live? 2 years. Dugu Aoshuang said. I don't believe it. I firmly believe that you will continue to live. Yang Dingtian said, Shuang, you said that you want me to become your Yan Nantian today. I cannot do it, but I can promise that no matter if I am able to find a way to let your scales fade away, I will definitely come back to see you once in 2 years. No matter how difficult it is, I will come back to see you once. Really? Shuang said happily. Of course. Yang Dingtian said. Shuang lowered her head and said softly, then, I have another request, Big Brother Yan. Yang Dingtian nodded. Kiss me once and let me feel what it is like. Dugu Aoshuang said. Then, she raised her head and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. Half a minute later, Dugu Aoshuang left Yang Dingtian's embrace and said, All right, Big Brother Yan, your time is very tight. We need to immediately plan how to let you enter the blood pool to cultivate. Thank you, Shuang, Yang Dingtian said seriously. Big Brother Yan, you have given me the courage to continue living. I am willing to do anything for you. Shuang said gently, the blood pool is a few thousand meters below the mountain. It is the most dangerous place in the entire Temple of Blood. If one enters without the blood token, no matter who it is, they will definitely die. Is the blood pool heavily guarded? Yang Dingtian asked. It is not guarded at all. The stone door is wide open and there is no one guarding it. Dugu Aoshuang said, however, there is a fire demon violent lion inside. It is a 500-year-old demonic beast. Because it has absorbed a large amount of profound qi from the blood pool, it is already equivalent to a grandmaster. The entire blood pool is its territory. Unless one has the blood token, anyone who enters will be torn to pieces. The blood token is in your father's hands? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes. Moreover, it is impossible for you to obtain the blood token from him. Instead, it will arouse his suspicion. Dugu Aoshuang said. Yang Dingtian's scalp went numb. A grandmaster-level demonic beast. Even Dongfang Minmi would have a headache if he came. Furthermore, demonic beasts were extremely possessive of their territories. Once they took half a step into their territory, they would definitely fight to the death. At Yang Dingtian's current level, even 10,000 of him wouldn't be able to withstand a single claw from the fire demon violent lion. Then is this fire demon violent lion closer to anyone in the Temple of Blood? Yang Dingtian immediately thought of Shiman Ningning, the genius beast speaker. No. Dugu Aoshuang said, it is gradually filled with hostility towards the people in the Temple of Blood. Furthermore, because it has absorbed the energy from the blood pool, it has become more and more violent. It always feels that the Temple of Blood has snatched its things. Therefore, many of the Temple of Blood's disciples don't dare to enter the blood pool even if they have the blood token. My father has even started to plan how to kill this fire demon violent lion. If he couldn't obtain the blood token, there would be no room for negotiation with this violent demonic beast. From the looks of it, it would be extremely difficult to enter the blood pool. It might even be impossible. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian thought of an idea. He had a 6th grade beast soul elixir on him, which had a fatal attraction to demonic beasts. Then, Yang Dingtian mixed Ningning's and Shiman Wuya's blood into the beast soul elixir and fed it to the fire demon violent lion. Although the deep-sea mystic poison and soul-devouring mystic qi in the blood were extremely thin, when mixed together, the toxicity should still be extremely shocking. As long as the fire demon violent lion ate this beast soul elixir, it would at least temporarily lose its ability to attack. Therefore, Yang Dingtian mentioned this idea. However, he didn't mention the soul-devouring mystic qi and deep-sea mystic poison. He only said that it was an extremely mysterious and rare poison. Dugu Aoshuang shook her head and said, it won't work. This fire demon violent lion feeds on the energy from the blood pool and doesn't eat anything else. Because no matter what it eats, it will harm its mystic qi cultivation. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was truly at his wit's end. You have a 6th grade beast soul elixir? Dugu Aoshuang suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian nodded. Then maybe there's a way. Dugu Aoshuang said, but it's still life-threatening. At least if you're not careful, you'll be torn into pieces. What way? Yang Dingtian asked. Follow me, Brother Yan, Dugu Aoshuang said and ran out. Yang Dingtian quickly chased after her. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Yang Dingtian walked out of Dugu Aoshuang's pavilion. It was dark outside and there were no stars or moons in the sky. There should be, but he didn't know why he couldn't see any stars or moons here. 10,000 meters below was the vast and boundless river of ecstasy. This was the back of the mountain of 10,000 blood, and it was extremely lonely. There was only a long mountain path and a lonely little building where Dugu Aoshuang lived. From this, it could be seen how much the temple of 10,000 blood rejected and feared Dugu Aoshuang. The two of them followed the rope and climbed down 1,000 meters, arriving at the entrance of a huge cave. Inside was a stone tunnel that was more than 10 meters high and wide. Brother Yen, follow this tunnel and walk to the deepest part. That's your destination, the blood pool, Dugu Aoshuang said. Yang Dingtian said, Shuang, what's your plan? Tell me now. Dugu Aoshuang pointed at the river of ecstasy and said, Brother Yen, in the river of ecstasy, there's also an extremely powerful demonic beast. Although it's slightly weaker than the fire demon violent lion, it's about the same. It's the lord of the entire 100 miles of ecstasy. And then? Yang Dingtian asked. Dugu Aoshuang said, this 8-headed demon flood dragon and the fire demon violent lion have a deep grudge. Back then, these two demonic beasts fought over the blood pool. In the end, the 8-headed demon flood dragon was defeated and lived in the river of ecstasy with hatred. However, it still covets the blood pool. We can use the beast soul elixir to lure the 8-headed demon flood dragon to the vicinity of the blood pool. This way, the fire demon violent lion will think that the 8-headed demon flood dragon is here to fight for its territory. It will definitely lose its mind and charge out. This way, the two demonic beasts will kill each other. You can use this opportunity to enter the blood pool to cultivate as soon as possible. Then, Dugu Aoshuang said, but Brother Yen, this method is still extremely dangerous. If there's even the slightest mistake, you'll lose your life. That's right. This plan was extremely risky. Firstly, it was uncertain whether the 8-headed demon flood dragon would be attracted by the grade 6 beast soul elixir. Even if it was attracted, it might just charge up and eat the beast soul elixir and Yang Dingtian together. Also, it was still unknown whether these two demonic beasts would kill each other. Even if everything went smoothly, Yang Dingtian would enter the depths of the blood pool to cultivate. Then, by the time he exited the blood pool, the fire demon violent lion might have already won and returned to its cave. If it discovered his existence, it would immediately tear him to pieces. In short, according to this plan, Yang Dingtian's life would be in great danger. There's nothing else I can do. Let's go all out. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and said. At this moment, there were still 65 hours before the duel with Qin Xiaobai. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.